I know. You put in so much work. Yeah. Oh, that. There's something posted on the whole thing. They were being really nice. We would. Mm-hmm. He moved into something and is that my street? Seven. Is he on your street? He's like on 850. Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know. Let's see what Amy presents. All right, it looks like it's 6 o'clock and we're recording. I'd like to call to order the Pleasant View City Council meeting this Tuesday, June 14th, 2022 at 6 p.m. Welcome, everybody. What a great pleasure it is to see so many people in the seats.
Should be. Hello?
Okay. Can you hear me now? I'll just talk louder. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's a great day. We have a really full, in fact, an agenda so full that I've never, not for 8 years on the council or now 5 years as mayor, seen such a full agenda. But the first part is full of joy. So glad to have everybody here. I imagine it's going to very soon trickle out. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance, opening prayer, reading, or expression of thought by Council Member Sarah Uri. But before she does, I'd like to take and read a little something. This Flag Day, it's called The Flag. It's by Baxter Black. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the flag that flew over Valley Forge, was torn in two by the gray and the blue, and bled through 2 world wars. I give you the flag that burned in the street, in protest, in anger, and shame. The very same flag that covered the men who died defending her name. We now stand together, Americans all, either by choice or by birth, to honor the flag that's flown on the moon and changed the face of the earth. History will show this flag stood a friend to the hungry, the homeless, and lost, that a mixture of men as common as clay valued one thing beyond cost. And they've signed it in blood from Bunker Hill to Saigon and Tokoriri. I give you the flag that says to the world, each man has a right to be free. I'll stand and repeat the pledge with you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father in heaven, we are so grateful to gather here together at City Hall as members of the community and representatives of those who are not here. We are grateful for this free land that we live in. We're grateful for those who have sacrificed so that we may enjoy the freedoms that we have today. We're grateful for our first responders, our police officers. We're grateful for our public works department, and we're grateful for all of those who defend our country and take care of our cities and states on our behalf. We ask you to bless them and protect them and watch over them. We are also grateful for this wonderful city that we live in. We're grateful for the beautiful views that we have and for the kind and caring community members that we have. Father, this time we ask you to bless those who are suffering. Bless them that they may have comfort and peace, especially be with Bishop and Connor's family, as well as the three members. They are mourning the loss of their family. We bless them and take care of them, and to help them get through this very difficult time. We ask that thy spirit will be with us tonight, that we may listen to each other and make sound and reasonable decisions on behalf of those that we represent. Help us to be civil, help us to be respectful, and help us to be kind. And we ask these things in the name of our Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Sarah. Okay, before we get to the good part, we've got a couple of items of business that we have to get through. And that is the declaration of conflicts of interest of the council rep agenda. Do there any conflicts that need to be disclosed? Great. Public comments or questions for the mayor or council. Any member of the public wish to address? Please state your name and address for the minutes.
Yes, my name is Robert Young. I live at 353 West, 3950 North, 2 blocks above the high school. I'll start by thanking you all for being a service to our community. I appreciate it. I wrote this thinking I had about 2 minutes, so I'll read what I wrote. Pull that microphone down just. Our neighborhood represents pride of ownership and energetic maintenance. I wish to commend the primary water maintenance crew early this year for repairing a water main collapse and responding and repairing it in a very expeditious manner. That's good stuff. As our paved roads in Pleasant View, I am less than pleased. The surrounding areas around our city hall is pridefully maintained and functional. Our paved roads around our homes do not reflect the same pride and respect as given to the city hall. I've had ropes of road tar wrapped around my tires and attached to my vehicle's frame. It's messy. The repaired pipeline across from my home has not been repaved since repaired. This forces cars to drive on the wrong side of the road, spread mud and gravel in the roadway. When I called City Hall last week, the agenda for repairing that has been pushed ahead 1 month after I'd indicated it was a dangerous intersection. It is also dangerous at the asphalt cut and remove on 600 West across from the park. People are crossing the double yellow lines into the oncoming traffic to avoid the hole. I observed this numerous times, as you probably have yourself. I have lived in another city and country environment of another busy state for 65 years and have never observed the road departments abandon a compromised asphalt roadway. The roadway is always immediately repaired and paved before opening to traffic. It was unable to repair, and one day it was covered with steel plates and danger warning signs were posted. Never left unrepaired for traffic use until safe. The city policy I have observed for the past 10 years has been a program of city convenience and scheduling over our safety and of our taxpaying citizens. Our house has increased in value over the past 10 years, but our asphalt maintenance has not. Some of us pull weeds out of the roadway so it looks maintained but never appealing. Our roadways look like a trash can that never was put back. Make our roads as beautiful and safe as they are around the city hall, and I wish for a change in policy of road safety and repair. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to address the council? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to the consent items. Minutes of February 19th, 2022, February 22nd, 2022, March 8th, 2022, March 22nd, 2022, March 31st, 2022, April 12th, 2 sets, April 26th, 2022, May 10th, 2022, and June 2nd, 2022. and the bills of Pleasant View City. Anybody have any corrections or questions?
I'll second.
Okay. Motion by Gibson, second by Arrington. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. Item 3, Grand Marshals, Honorary Grand Marshals and Bike Parade Grand Princes. Which I'm sure 90%, probably 98% of the crowd is here for, and I'm glad you are. This is kind of a new. We started last year and said, just instead of just riding in the parade, we'd like to honor a little more our Grand Marshals, and because these are people in our community that represent our community proudly and have contributed greatly, and we're very pleased when we get together for our first meeting. There's a lot of discussion. Who in the community should we pick to be in these positions to fill these roles? It's not just throwing a dart at something. There's a lot of discussion of who's done what and so on and so forth. Who's contributed? Who has really stepped forward and been a great citizen of Pleasant View? And there are many. There are many, and these are some of the cream of the crop. So without further ado, I'm going to turn the time over to Councilmember Marriott, who's in charge of this portion of Founders Day, and we'll go from there.
I don't know about you, but hopefully you're excited about Founders Day, because this is definitely it's here, and this is a really great part of that. So tonight we would like to honor all of the Grand Marshals for the parade, and all that was in the newsletter. Hopefully you got a chance to read it. I'm not going to go through and read everything about everybody that we're honoring tonight. But as the mayor said, we've thought about this a lot. We've taken our time, and as you know, there are many that could be honored in this way from our city. But today and this year, we'd like to honor the following individuals. And what I'd like to do is say a little bit about each one of them, and go through that list, and maybe give them an opportunity to say something if they'd like to, and then we'll present plaques to each of them and take some pictures, and get an opportunity to shake hands, and you can share your thoughts as well. So, and I'm welcome any of the council members to kind of jump in, but and they can as we go along. So this year we'd like to honor the Healys, Tim and Colette Healy, as our Grand Marshals of the parade. And they're very special people and have been in the community most of their lives here in Pleasant View. And what's kind of interesting about them is Mayor Healy was the first mayor of Pleasant View, and Colette, I think, was very instrumental in starting the parade, which is kind of neat to make that happen, and have that come full circle to this point, which is many years later. We have a history of having Grand Marshals. There's a very long list of those that have been presented over the years, and the Healys are definitely well deserving of that. Been great contributors to the community. One of the things I remember every year from the parade since I've been here is Tim Healy honoring the armed services as he's been in the parade, and that's been really special to me. I'm not even sure what service you're in. I can't remember. I want to say it's the Air Force. Is that what it was? But anyway, I really think that's an amazing thing to see every year in the parade. So if you read through the comments that they've made, the bio that they have, it's in the newsletter. It's just really amazing of the things that they've been able to contribute to and help with over the years. And I know they're both going to be in the parade, not only as Grand Marshals, but are helping out a lot with the historical society here in Pleasant View, and helping out with things in the parade as well. So we'd like to congratulate them and for this honor today. So congratulations. I'm going to go through the other ones, and then I'll give you a minute to come up here as well. So we have 2 honorary Grand Marshals this year. Last year we had 1, and we decided to do 2 this year. and both of them have had great contributions to our city and in kind of in different ways. So I'll start off with the first one is Judy Sherman. And I didn't know Judy, and one of the things that was really amazing about this discussion that we had is that our city staff, who we really appreciate and trust, recommended Judy Sherman as for this honor. And a couple of the things that stood out to me about that is one of them is that she loves to come into the city office to pay her bills, but she comes mostly to visit and to just be around people and to talk to them, which is really amazing. And in addition to that, she loves Founders Day. And I found out last night that several in her family like to come specifically to Founders Day, even though they live in Florida and probably all around the world. They like to come here specifically for that. But she's the very first one here to buy salmon bake tickets every year. And she's also the first one in line every year to the salmon bake, and that's pretty special. She has a great history. She hasn't lived in Pleasant View all of her life, but has been here many years, and just a great person. You know, the kindness and the respect and the faith that she has goes a long way, and her neighbors love that, and I think that's what really came across to our staff here. And as I've gotten to know her, I really appreciate that, and it was pretty special for me to visit with her and get to know her. Our next honorary Grand Marshal is Brenda Metzger, and I haven't really gotten to know Brenda much, but I've talked to her on the phone, and it's just been really fun. I told her I would probably embarrass her tonight, but I don't really have a lot to embarrass her about. So
I can take it from here if you want.
So Ann, let's let Ann embarrass her a little bit.
No, I would love a privilege though to say something about Brenda. I grew up my whole life with her, and she is just the most fun and genuine person you'll ever meet. She always has a smile on her face, and she has such a contagious laugh. She hates to be center stage, so this is just brutal for her right now, but we're still going to do it anyway, Brenda. But she is the kind of person that just makes things successful from behind the scenes. You know, she's the one that's making it all happen and making it look just seamless and flawless, and she's always willing to jump in and do her part, and she just does a beautiful job. Whenever you're in the room with Brenda, she makes you feel like $1,000,000. And I just think if we could have a full city of Brenda Metzgers, we'll be successful and forever. So
I really like in her bio, I really like what she talked about, and it was about the community working together. And I know she was involved in many things, and probably a lot with Colette and others that are here, but involved in the parades and other things. But her motto was, together we can do it. And I just think that's a pretty amazing thing. We can do amazing things together, and that's a great motto to have. So then, moving on, we have one other one which is really unique to this year. I don't know if you know yet, but we decided to have a bike parade this year, and kids bike parade, and not everybody, only the kids. So, but as we talked about, Ann was the one that suggested that, and we talked about it. And as we talked together, we kind of felt like there needed to be something special with that. How could we lead off the parade? And as we discussed it, one person came to our mind, and it was very clear that we needed to have Kristen McQuibby, the Grand Princess for our parade. And I don't know if you know Kristen. She's just an amazing person and has just a great smile and always very friendly. I've lived around her for a long time. I have great respect for her family, for her siblings, and for Kristen. And I don't get to see her all that much right now because I'm not in her ward, but I always have had a lot of fun being around her. And if you know her, she's just she does things. She has specific things that she likes to do, and she does them very well. She's going to lead our parade with her bike, her tricycle, and with her flamingos, and she's probably going to really enjoy that. I know I'm not going to be able to be right at the beginning of the parade, but I hope there's lots of pictures taken so I can see that happen. So anyway, I'd like to congratulate her, and we're so happy that all of you can participate in the parade and these honors. So thank you very much. Would any of you like to say a couple words? We have a couple of minutes. We're pressed for time, but if you'd like to say anything, we'd like to welcome you up to the pulpit to say anything.
I would say is you've come a long way, baby. Back in 1970, when I served as mayor, the city council meetings were held down in a little shop area by the pickleball courts. And that was also the court when they'd get together to vote on things. They'd go into the vault there and they would make their decisions there in the vault. And so it's wonderful the progress that's occurred and taken place. And I really commend the city fathers and mothers for the many good things that have occurred and have been done. We moved here and began our married life after our military time 54 years ago. And we've seen a lot of changes in that period of time, and grateful for them and grateful for you and the part that each of you have played in that taking place. It's always a nice thing. We enjoy, Mayor, getting the newsletter each month, seeing the things that are going on and being aware of it. Because I'm sure a lot of people may not be aware of those things were it not for the newsletter. So that's a real wonderful thing. But thanks for the honor. We look forward to having fun with all of you on Founders Day. And again, we appreciate all that you do. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'd just like to thank you for this honor, and I would like to tell you just for a minute about the beginning of the Founders Day Parade, which was years and years ago. And I just had this feeling we should have a parade. So I sent a flyer around in the newsletter, which started back then, the newsletter, when Ken Cromwell was the councilman, got together with him and said, we want to have everybody to know what's going on. So Carolyn Jones and I handed delivered them for a couple of years in the mailboxes. We sent out a flyer saying, let's have a parade. Meet me at the church parking lot on 900 and bring me to decorate your cars or bikes or whatever. So I with my kids at 6 of them in and decorated our big brown van with great paper and balloons and went down to the parking lot. And 3 other people showed up. There was Karen Jenkins, who came in her little car, and the chaplain decorated Missing costumes, and then Mayor Barker. So there were 4 all together. So he was gone here to the town, all around the town, and thought that was the beginning of the parade. And then all of a sudden, after doing that for about 3 years and nobody cared, then we started caring, and Brenda and Rochester here, they decided to take over the parade, and I kept doing the chairman and doing the other things taken care of. And so they, for years, would get the parade rolling. And after about 10 years, I remember just crying when I saw hundreds of people down by the church excited for the parade. And then at that time, we go down to the parade was in at Chase Bank. And just hundreds of people went down to Chase Bank and we did trout fishing and other fun activities that we had. And then last year, as we drove through the parade with the Heritage Foundation folks, I had tears in my eyes again because there were hundreds, there are thousands that line the parade route now, and it's such a thrill, and we love Pleasant View, and we'll always be here, and we appreciate
Thank you.
Anybody else like to say anything, council? Or if not, we'll take some pictures.
Brenda or Judy, would you like to say anything, or just okay?
Siblings or children are okay too. So. I don't know if Kristen does. Kristen, would you like to say anything? Kristen might not, but
Good.
anybody else? Okay, we're gonna take some pictures, and Sarah's got something she's bringing back here, but we'll just have him come up. Tim and Colette, if you want to come up. Yeah, please come up. Come up here, we'd like to take a picture with you, and we'd like to present you with this plaque. It's on the council in there, and then we also have it's a very valuable thing. So, you don't have to buy pen. I'm sure you probably already bought some. Come on, now we can go in there. Yeah.
Not that way. Thank you.
All right, the new one.
Awesome.
One over this way.
Thank you, everyone. That was why I wish we could do this every single meeting. It'd be great. This is the part of the city that is just brings joy to your heart. The rest of the stuff's just a lot of work. I know the Healy's have always meant a lot to me personally. Almost 46 years ago, when it was Bishop Healy instead of Mayor Healy, he married my wife and I 46 years ago. Probably thought, these dang kids, they won't make it a year, but we're still going strong. So. Yeah. That would be good. Thank you so much.
Yeah, a lot of meeting left.
With that, let's plow through it.
Yeah.
Item 4 is public hearing. On first is storage units, discussion possible action to amend chapter 14.42 supplemental use regulations ordinance by allowing existing storage facilities outside the location limitations to expand until December 31st, 2022 to the section 18.42-015 storage facilities special regulations, ordinance 2022-16. Amy.
This is something we started doing in planning commission meetings, and I kind of like having the agenda up on the screen or the packet to help guide us along. So,
Yeah, we probably should.
I'll second the motion.
A motion by Gibson, second by Marriott. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Go ahead, Amy.
Okay, perfect. So before you this evening, is a petition that's come before the city for the expansion of our existing storage facilities and an amendment to our ordinances to allow for this to occur. The ordinance specifically defines to allow the expansion until December 31st. And so just a little bit of breakdown of the Planning Commission's meeting and discussion with this. So storage units are an allowable use within the current zone, the C2 zone that's being proposed here, but due to the way our code defines and breaks down things, they are not currently allowed for new or expanded uses east of Highway 89. So that's why this item is before you. The Planning Commission reviewed the proposal and considered a recommendation during its May 5th meeting, and there was a split vote on this. I'm going to go into the reasoning on both of these. The Commission provided a recommendation of approval for the proposal to the Council with a 3-2 vote. So Commissioners Bolingbrook, Stokes, and Cotter voted in support of the amendment as they felt the expansion in the location that was described for wildcat storage made sense in the area being proposed and would ultimately complete the overall development and complement what's around it. Commissioners Andy Neff and Julie Farr both voted in opposition to the proposal. They had some concerns and cited these about fairness and appropriateness of the approach and possible issues in having a time-specific end to the ordinance with the date. And so the other thing that came up was a concern that this might be catering to one individual's request. So the other thing that came out of that too, with the general plan and the discussion with that, so the general plan calls for this area to be commercial. And so technically storage units fall into that C2 with how that is, but again, there's that other layer ordinance that precludes those from the other side of 89. But one of the things that was brought up was they didn't feel that it was lending to a diversity of commercial issues in the corridor. And so that's something that is a goal in the general plan, and it would just be adding more storage units versus diversifying the commercial uses. So with the concerns that were brought up in the meeting, we did make some additional contact with the state ombudsman's office to verify that legality of what was being proposed and how it was being approached. And although they said that it is not illegal to set the time-specific parameters in the ordinance, it typically isn't the best practice because the consideration being made now, you know, if it's a good idea now, it should be a good idea in the future with regards to land use. So just something to keep in mind there. And so with that, they're looking at doing this off of the area off 2550. So the ordinance specifically defines that it would not allow for expansion off 2700. And looking into that a little bit more, several of the other storage units are not directed off 2700 too. So this would allow for some possible expansion. It would require property acquisition, but in those areas as well. Yeah, it would allow the option.
Just east of 89, or that includes everywhere.
Well, it would allow for
C2.
expansion anywhere in the C2.
Okay.
Yeah. So with that, I don't know if the council has any questions. Overall, the owner is looking to modify and expand to the south, east corner.
If we allowed to expand the institute, it would in effect about anyone who wanted to expand to do that. It would not be
As long as they're not on 27.
As long as it's not along 2700. So the way that, and I went on and looked at the map of all the storage units that are east of 89. Most of them don't abut the 2700. There's a couple that do partially, but then there's other parts of them that don't. And so the areas that are not along 2700 could expand, but on 2700 the expansion would not be allowable.
You happen to know what, or see what the current zoning was in those adjacent properties by chance?
So there were two that were the C2, so the same zoning. I think the other one was manufacturing. Correct. So long as, yeah, it's not off the 2700, there could be further expansion than what's being proposed.
What does that mean along 2700? Is there access off 2700? I guess that's the only.
So the property really couldn't be located
Couldn't even
adjacent
touch.
to, yeah, it couldn't touch 2700. It would have to determine how they're subdivided. So if they're subdivided in a way that touches, so if it's a longer stretch of property that touches both, then it wouldn't be allowable. But if it's divided and the property lines don't touch 2700, it would be allowable. Potentially, depending on how the properties are divided up.
There was also some language in the ordinance that says
Here, I can pull up the ordinance.
what percentage to how.
Oh, in our current ordinance.
Yeah, in our current ordinance.
Yeah, so there is, and I don't know if it's in.
Did anybody calculate that out?
So we hadn't yet, and the reason being, and we talked about it, I guess, just to give a little bit of history with the petitioners and the evolution of this. So the petitioners had come forward and requested for the expansion, and in prior administration that was permitted. And so, but in looking at the code, we determined that we disagreed with the prior administration, talked with the ombudsman's office, and they said, well, just because something was done differently in the past, if you feel that, you know, this is how this is approached. I think that this portion of the ordinance was missed when that occurred. And so then they're trying to, you know, good faith effort, come back, and they said, well, let's look at amending the code. And so when we were looking at prior mayor, we talked about calculating that to see if it would be allowable for the additional units. I'm anticipating with the population growth it would be. Just looking at the growth of our storage units and manufacturing, it really hasn't taken a hit. So I would anticipate that the standards there would not be an
'Cause
issue, but there
there's
is a
no proposal
population
there to
standard in there
change
too. No, there's no proposals there to
So-
change that. I would anticipate that there would be some allowance there. I don't know to what level. That's a good question.
Because even though section D might allow for added expansion in other areas, section C might say, well, nope. I mean, because we have not calculated it. And I'm not sure. I would assume there is some room for growth, because I agree with you, there's been a lot of expansion since this was passed in 2008. So that's 14 years ago. The city has grown a lot in 14 years.
Well, I mean, in my understanding of something that it allows you to expand that zone. People who apply for it.
Because our ordinance has this additional layer, it's a little bit more complex.
That's my concern.
No, it's
You know, we work really hard to make sure that we preserve the and allowing this to, it doesn't, you know, and also the way that laws and ordinances are.
and I don't.
Just with a particular applicant, you can't allow, you know, when an applicant says that they want this, and it may make sense for that individual, other individuals that have to use places in the zone, not for the property, not for a spot.
Right.
Correct.
So any other property that met
Meets the
these.
criteria. And so that's where I did do a rough Google search. I'm not going to say it's, you know, all inclusive, but I found 3 other storage units companies that would meet similar criteria on the east side of 89, and they did have frontage that was off of 2700. So it would require additional purchase of property, but you know, depending. But again, there would be that.
I'm sure there's one on 1,000.
Sorry, I should have brought the name of the.
I can't think of the third one yet.
Does the language prohibit anyone from starting a new?
Yeah, that's already prohibited.
Existing.
So this would be limited to expansion only. Somebody couldn't start fresh.
So this would only
Steve.
allow for expansion.
Yeah. Can we answer that question first? Third property, then we'll open it for public. You said there were 3 properties.
Let me look those up while
Okay.
we're sorry, because
All right,
again,
then-
it was the
then
Google.
I'll
search
open it up to public comment.
on the plan.
Anybody here might wish to speak to this? Oh,
Hi.
Tony.
Tony Pittman, 1322 West, 3200 North, Pleasant View. My concern about this is just how it's so narrow in focus that you start to have problems with, well, you allowed that, why won't you allow this other thing? And so it's not really a matter of particularly how this change is written, but more the matter that we made a change that was so specific. If someone else comes to the council and says, well, I would like a little specific change that will make it so I can do it as well, we don't have any basis to deny that, no matter what it is. Just the fact that we're getting this specific is the real issue here. And so I would recommend we don't do this. I think the use of the land itself, it totally makes sense. Cutting that out and adding storage units is great, but I don't know if there's a way to do it without opening ourselves up to other problems along the way. So that's my concern with this.
Okay, anybody else wish to speak? You have the answer?
I have some clarity. Yes. Sorry. So the M&M storage is not on the east side of 89, and then the Pleasant View warehouse and the Wildcat storage are the ones that are on the other side. So those are the three.
One isn't. One
The
is
Wildcat is one of them.
M&M was the third one.
M&M's
It's not
the
on
third
the
one,
side.
and that's the manufacturing, and that's not on that side of the road. Yep. There's only two east. Sorry for that.
I'll second the motion.
Motion by Gibson, second by Merritt to close the public meeting, public hearing. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, close. Go ahead, Steve.
There is a way to do it, but you have to come back.
We have a recommendation. Okay.
So you remember when we did no, this is a good example. There is a way, in looking at ecosystem legal law, the way that you draft ordinances you do it, it's not so necessarily specific. The way that it is written, it's more of you do sizes and things like that. So anybody who meets that condition, you have to meet the condition. So does that make sense? So you write a use that's allowed that meets certain conditions.
I think that's kind of been done here. First off, it has to be an existing facility, so only two could do it. And it can't be on
To the east of
2700.
yeah, sorry, my numbers were bad before.
So yeah, I see what you're saying.
As long as you're looking at it as far as the way that code is written, the use that anybody gets as long as it meets certain conditions. And so when we discuss it monthly, it would be more of, you would have to look at percentages and amend it and change it a little bit to make it more applicable to what you're looking for. So it's not favoring an individual or property over another. It is. But then you have to look at why you're doing it. If you're doing it for an individual, then you shouldn't be doing it. And then you're favoring them over others.
Well, there is a blank field between, to the north of them, but, well, which may be okay too. I mean,
Sure, but I guess number one, you want it, I guess the question that I would ask is, do we feel like we're doing, is that where we want to go? Number two, how do we do it so that it doesn't do anything? I would propose that we talk with and do it right. Just make sure that we're doing it right before we adopt something. Just make sure what our intent is and we're doing it right so that we've done everything that we're supposed to do.
So this, you can't tie it to a property, and this is in the C2 zone. And storage units are allowed in the C2 zone, and so the reason why we're looking at an ordinance amendment is right now it's the ordinance that's precluding the expansion of the storage units. It's not the zone.
So
If you wanted to modify the zone, that's absolutely an option. It does address capacity. It also addresses location. So,
you know, I'd be pretty comfortable with this language if we clarified the 2700 north a little. I mean, I'm a little fuzzy on what that means exactly.
the only thing that I would like to do is double check with the property, with the property rights and make sure that we've done everything that we're supposed to do so that we don't end up in that. That's what I. We only asked about legality and all those things. We didn't ask how we do it. And so I would like to go back.
this is legal. They just said it's not best practice because of the time stamp limitation.
Why not if it's good now? Why not next year? It's all of those things. And so.
Well, right now it just says proposed expansion of existing facilities on parcels located directly on 2700 north is prohibited. And I don't know what that means exactly. I mean, if I bought a parcel and subdivided it and created a 10-foot strip on 2700, could I do the whole back end as then in?
That worries me because we got to continue to keep that between 2500, 2550, and 2700 as commercial. So
Steve.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I think, so the master plan talks about, sorry.
Okay, Ann has a comment.
Okay, so my comments are, the master plan calls for diversity, so that's something I want to take into account. I do think the storage sheds make sense in this spot, but I do also think it does open us up for some, liability. So I think if we're going to write the ordinance, I think we put language in there like like maybe the needed ratio. We go visit that 3-to-1 ratio that was in the ordinance in the first place, see where our ratio is and write that in there. So if that ratio is in there and this expansion meets it, door closed right now, something like that. And then I think we keep the expansion language in there instead of new. I don't like the date stamp. I think that if you can do storage sheds now, you should be able to do them, I don't like the date stamp part personally. Could. But let's look at the ratio.
Look at what our intent is on top with.
I would
Expansion.
like to know what the ratio is. I mean, I am assuming that we're having that their maximum has not been hit or isn't currently, but that's just an assumption. We don't have that as fact.
And is the ratio based on homes to storage shed, or is it homes
number
to
C.
So
businesses?
it says every 3 dwelling units, 1 unit, no more than 1 unit for every 3 dwelling units.
Is dwelling unit a home, like a
A
residence?
home, an apartment, a townhome.
About
But not a business.
2,800.
No, okay.
So if the desire is to try to make it work, let's do it right. But I would propose to table this and go and so that we can make it work within what we're doing and we can, I agree that this particular parcel works, so let's do it right so that we get legal and fair and all of that. And we can work with Murphy to that's how we did it in the past. And also with, that's what I would propose. I would propose that we, I'm gonna make a motion. I would like to make a motion to table this agenda item with the intent of working with the state on Hudson and, the property acquisition such as right language that would be appropriate for CP zones so that we can make this work.
Okay, let me ask for clarification. Why the property acquisition? Okay.
Property land use.
Okay. I get a question before I get a second on there. If we change, could we right now change this text, or does it have to go back to the planning commission if we change?
No, you can change it. Yeah. If you have any tweaks or modifications, that's not an issue at this stage.
Yeah, I had a question also. You talked about the number of ones, and if we have 2,800 residents, which I don't know exactly what we have, but that's 933 storage units. This doesn't have a size definition on that either, right? Of how big the storage unit is.
No, it
Just
doesn't go into
actual
that.
separate units that are rentable units, I guess. Okay. Well, I don't know.
I like
I don't
it,
know.
any.
I don't know if we want to get that specific.
Because a small one would still count as one.
Yeah.
I wanted to build, 100 small ones instead of 10 big ones. Hits that limit faster. No, I just want to, I just want to make sure that we protect the 2,700 corridor. That's my biggest concern. That is what we have set aside. Past councils have set aside. Past administrations have set aside. To say this is where we want prime commercial, retail type.
And it's spoken that way over and over again from every.
I agree. This seems like a perfect place to put, a little niche there, but we need to do it right so we don't get into a bind. So,
Sarah, would you be willing to add to your motion that we define the 2,700 like the mayor suggested, make that more clear as far as like where it's allowed? Like you said, you could just have a 10-foot setback, and then you'd be.
I would actually define what we just proposed. And also make it perfect. So because
whatever we come up with, as long as we
So they
protect
come up with,
27.
yeah.
so that it's fair, but it's also protected.
Okay, have a motion on the table. Do I have a second?
I'll second the table.
Okay, we have a motion to table by Yuri, second by Arrington. Further discussion? Go ahead, Steve. Do you not think we need to protect the 2,700 North Florida, or do you think? Okay. That's it? Okay. Okay.
Did we not have that purpose in the table? You had that purpose in the table.
Well, I want to make sure the language is that's part of it. We just want to make sure that we address everything.
If they've already maxed out, it would be, unless we,
But let's give it some time to make sure that we've addressed it.
It's not allowable though.
well, we can check with Marcy real quick. We can check with Marcy real quick and we'll address the time limitation, the 2700 north limitation, if I understand right, and we'll get the maximum number of spaces to make sure the language is acceptable.
What was the second one
Maybe,
you
I
mentioned there?
mean, depending. That doesn't have to be there, right?
We'll just check and see that it would only fit, right now we're discussing that we're sitting in that particular spot. We just want to make sure that that's all the result of.
I think that's even more spot zone.
That's what you're asking for though.
Yeah, that does go to C. I agree, yeah.
3-1. Expansion.
We'll just double check all those.
Yeah, I know what you mean though.
The timing too, right? The timing on there, right? But
that's one of the, I think that's one of the biggest things the ombudsman had was the time limitations, so.
I don't want a time limitation in the ordinance.
If it's in now, then it's the next year. I would just like to verify all this with somebody,
Okay.
land use.
All right, let's call the vote. Unless you were leaning forward to vote. Okay, say something. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 3-1. Okay. We'll try to bring that off the table on our next meeting. Okay. Second public hearing is on AAAs, which is discussion possible action to amend chapter 18.66 attached accessory apartments ordinance by adding attached accessory apartments to the permitted uses in each zone, namely sections 18.09, the RE20 zone, 18.10, the RE15 zone, 18.16, the A2 zone, and 18.18, the A5 zone, and to obtain an AAA permit review and issued by the staff. Ordinance 2022-17. Amy? Well, let's go into public hearing.
I'll make a motion that we open the public hearing.
Motion by Arrington, second by Uri. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we're in a public hearing. Amy.
Okay, so before you this evening is a recommendation from the Planning Commission of denial and to further look into this item. So the Planning Commission recently had on their agenda an accessory apartment, attached accessory apartment proposal for, and it was a conditional use, a property within a homeowners association, so an HOA. And state law has changed and ultimately threw out any HOA rules that disallowed the AAAs and said, we're gonna allow this to happen regardless. And so there were a lot of concerns brought forward with the conditional use permit. And one of the things that was discussed among staff is really relooking at our ordinance. And in talking with the Planning Commission, they'd like us to look at refining and kind of going through that. So this is ultimately what that is they're recommending denial of the ordinance that staff has proposed in association with that to really take some more time to look at that and bring a proposal forward to the council. We had given them the option to table, but they felt strongly to kind of bring it back to the council and let you know that they'd like to relook at this and spend some more time on this.
Want to vote to deny it rather than table?
That would be the recommendation to a planning commission to deny it and then send that back to the planning commission for their basically kind of start from scratch.
What was their?
So this planning staff had recommended looking at
this is a permitted use, but because of all of the dialogue that had occurred in the meeting with the HOA, they felt that they wanted to continue to look at it as a conditional use and look at maybe having the ordinance address more conditions, or even just every time there's one that happens, bringing it back as a conditional use to vet with the property owners
How
of
does
the
that
different.
fit with the new state law? Because I believe in state law
So
say HOAs could not limit this and so on and so forth.
Right.
Are they trying to limit it backdoor?
no,
by
and
having-
it's really not looking at the HOA side of it. It's just more looking at it as a conditional use. So state law does allow us to approve those as conditional uses, but we cannot deny them. And so it's more allowing another step and glance at how a use is being used and look at parking impacts, restrictions there, maybe no off-street parking. Mhm. Exactly,
Right.
exactly. And so that's kind of the question at hand, is whether to just allow it as a permitted use because it's already going to be permitted, or to look at setting more conditions. And there are various conditions in our ordinance, but the planning commission,
But those are all part of the existing. This is a matter of changing the process of approving these so they're not quite so onerous, which is what
correct,
the state was looking for in the first place.
correct. But I
Number
think
one. Number two is to make sure that this happens, because this is running rampant in our community. Okay, people don't really realize this, but this is just, everybody in the community's got somebody living with them, whether it's family or not, but it is going, and very few is coming forward and doing this because it is kind of tough to do. Yeah, it's permitted and they'll eventually get to do it, but I can see, I don't know. That's just what I have to say about it. That's not allowed.
this doesn't address vacation rentals, but that is something that we do have on our list to address.
Should be addressed with this though, right, if we do it?
And we could do
Is it
both at the
allowed?
same
It's
time.
not allowed. This has to be owner occupied, doesn't it?
In our ordinance, any AAA has to be owner occupied. That is correct. And state law doesn't preclude that. That's allowable in state law.
So, all right. So if we deny it, and the staff's going to start over with what?
Well, I
I'm
think we'd
trying to figure out.
we'd start back with the planning commission with what this proposal is, and maybe in a work meeting vet through it a little bit more. I mean, they had a room full of people that were upset from the HOA about the impacts of the AAA, and so it's not so much focused on the HOA, but rather focused on some of the possible impacts.
That process bothers me a little bit. Just procedural wise, I'm not sure that planning commission should help draft ordinances, and they should, that puts them too vested in the process. They should be reviewing and recommending, not drafting, doing their own review of their draft and then recommending.
Good point.
And then to provide a recommendation back to them.
Is there any, well, yeah. Anybody wish to speak to this? Yeah. If not, I'd entertain a motion to go out of public hearing.
I'll second the motion.
Motion by Gibson, second by Marriott. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
You just have to allow it. You just have to add on to it. Like how many, where they can park, how many families, how,
And our current ordinance does address most of those things. And so ultimately, Right, and this is anywhere in the city that's owner occupied and it's allowable. Right now, it should be a conditional use, so there should be an application, yeah, in single family. And so right now, the ordinance allows this, and it should be, it's a conditional use, and so and family's not a regulated thing.
Well, I mean, we already have this. It's just conditional instead of permitted. This would streamline the process.
Right,
That's
so
what we're hoping for as staff.
Staff was
streamline it
proposing
so
to permit it, but
can-
planning commission had heartburn, and I think the timing may have disrupted that because of the meeting.
It was more of making sure that everything is followed. And even though you can't necessarily go to the house, you can't decide what to do. But if you have a verbal agreement, if there is something that happens, you come back to the city. Yeah, but.
Well, this is already law. It's just a matter of, do we want it to be conditional and go through planning commission and everything before, or just allow staff to review these and say, yep, check the boxes, and then you make all the conditions of the ordinance. I don't know.
Well, and if the council feels most comfortable, I mean, with having it as a permitted use, that is an option before you. I mean, they're recommending denial, but you could move forward with having it permitted versus conditional. So the difference is, I don't know if it's negative or positive. Permitted is less hoops to jump through, less red tape. Conditional actually brings the person in and goes through the standards with them, and then if there's something weird with the property or where they're having the entrance or something, then the planning commission could say, this is, an impact on the neighboring property that you need to take action on or consider.
Yeah,
You can give staff recommendations to make sure that with that, everything is what it's done.
Well, a lot. And they wouldn't
Right.
qualify. You're under a whole different ordinance.
But there's still the ordinance in effect, even if there are problems. Just because it's permitted doesn't mean that the rules don't apply.
for every application.
I don't, that's why I was confused why they recommended denial, and you know what, and if we come up with something, we can bring it back.
And
We can always
honest-
add to the ordinance later, like if we want
Lots
to
of
start
stuff.
messing with the.
If staff recommends some problems with this, you would let us know.
Absolutely, yeah. It doesn't modify any of the staff
It
roles,
didn't
so
work anyway.
we would still request that they come to a DRC meeting just to talk through the rules with them. But then it wouldn't, yeah.
So if there's an issue that can be addressed, we can add more to it.
Yeah, there's no.
I have a question on that. So
Go ahead.
owner occupied, so VRBO, Airbnb, that stuff like that. It's not,
That's a whole different
whole
animal,
different-
yeah.
even if it's owner occupied, I mean, because that's something I would like to visit sometime. I know lots of cities are going through this right now.
But if the owner's
And then-
there and they rent out their basement to a vacation rental, having the owner there, it's not full but it makes a difference.
But I'm with Dave on this because we need to look at like different taxes, like and all that stuff. If they're doing a VRBO, like it's a whole
Well,
different.
and
yeah.
the motion could be, not to encourage modification of the motion, but the motion could be to also ask that staff look at a recommendation for vacation rentals and bring that through the process and back to you.
No, it wouldn't be.
No, it could be separate of this, so you could,
Or we can direct.
And that would save us some time.
And yeah, you don't have to formally request it either. I'm happy to.
Formal request, go.
A formal request gives me a little teeth, but.
Okay, have a motion on the floor. Oh,
I'll second it.
motion by Gibson, second by Arrington.
So give us the,
2022-17.
Vacation rentals. Separate. Yeah, yeah.
I want to see it. I want to see it. It doesn't have to be an agenda. Oh, yeah.
Bypass Sarah, we'll talk.
Okay. Call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
roll call.
Thank you. Arrington,
Yes.
Harriet,
Yes.
Gibson, Nelson's excused. Yuri.
Oh, yes.
The motion carries.
I'm just gonna tell them to go with.
I thought you were going to say you were going to tell them where to go. That's what I thought he was going to say.
All right, item 5, subdivision plot discussion, possible action to consider preliminary subdivision plot approval for David Erickson subdivision containing 3 lots on 3.76 acres at approximately 1071 West Pleasant View Drive in the RE20 zone. Amy.
Thank you. So before you this evening is a proposal for a preliminary subdivision, and this one is a little bit complex, but I'll try to weed us through it quickly. It started as a preliminary subdivision because it started, as do many of our subdivisions, with improvements to the roadway. However, the Planning Commission is recommending that those improvements off Pleasant View Drive be removed as part of the conditions, but because this has been noticed as a preliminary, it would need to come back for final if it is approved as a preliminary to you all for that final determination. And so just kind of as a heads up with the process with that. If the improvements wouldn't have been included in the initial noticing of this, it could have been taken care of at the Planning Commission level as a minor subdivision.
So when it comes back, will it come back to us?
It'll
too?
just come back to the council.
Yes, to the council.
Yep, final just comes back to the council. So before you this evening is the proposal at the David Erickson property. There's 3.755 acres for the subdivision into 3 lots in an RE20 zone at approximately 1071 West Pleasant View Drive. And so there were some recommendations from the staff, and in the Planning Commission review of this, it included recommending approval to meet they asked us to look at a land survey, which they provided, and there was a bit of discussion about a roadway along, sorry, David, I can make that bigger too, a roadway along the property to help benefit a landlocked parcel, but in looking at the survey data, there was no overlap with that, and so that was a moot point. There was really no interaction with that, but we did get that information. To include a 6-foot tall non-climbable fence along the south side of Lot 3 along the canal easement, to remove street improvements along Pleasant View Drive, which I mentioned were initially included in what was noticed, and then to satisfy all department review comments.
Okay, so the roadway along the south edge was eliminated because
Yes,
that's really not a landlocked property.
it is not landlocked in
Can
the
be
property
served
at
from
all.
1100.
Yep, let me pull the map up right here. So
Which
there was,
I agree wholeheartedly.
some initial discussion about having a roadway come here to help alleviate a landlocked property here. But in further deliberations with the property owners, there really isn't an overlap, and so this property has nothing to do with what's going on there. And there are other means to benefit that property.
Okay. Do you have any questions for Amy?
Part of the Planning Commission's discussion was to require a fence along the North Ogden Canal Company. I know there's no written request or a written agreement, with the canal company. It was, a gentleman's agreement. However, in our code, it does allow for city council to omit that requirement to require the fencing along the canal.
That is correct.
So.
Is it an open ditch?
It is, it's a canal, and so, you know, it's kind of vague with the description to give some, it could fit in that description, the canal, it is an open ditch, so.
Yeah,
It allows the
Take
city
it.
council to take that out.
Go ahead.
as I say, I don't believe it's necessary. It is it's a subdivision only because he's subdividing it for his family. It's not a third-party subdivision, and so I think a lot of the requirements that we would normally do in those subdivisions, I don't believe is necessary in this case.
So that would be along the south side of lot 3.
And it's not even.
Okay, I know this is not a public hearing, but I'll take some personal privilege and ask Dave if he has anything to say. And then I have a question for you about that fence. Or do you want me to ask the question first? Okay. It's family, I assume. Lot 3 would be for a family member.
By the way, I thought what you did for the McQuivens was just really.
Oh, thank you. That was sweet, wasn't it? Yep. She's a sweetheart. Would the family be fencing that anyway, or I'm just concerned about, you know, I don't know what is it a young family, an older family member, or I don't want a member of your family to drown.
Family is my son and his wife is Mike, and you know Mike and Jessica, and they have 3 kids, and the youngest is about this tall, and they play along that canal
Already?
all their life.
So, David, as an attorney, doesn't the liability really rest on the liability to put an enclosure along the canal? It's not on the people who build it, but it's their ditch, and it's on them.
Not the homeowner's responsibility unless the homeowner creates an attractive nuisance. In this case, the canal is not on our property.
So it's the obligation is on them.
Can I just add, Mike Humphreys, at least at the time I talked to him, I don't know what it is today, but he was the vice chairman of the Riverwalk Canal Company, I assume he still is. I specifically stood along that bank with Mike and I said, where can I put a fence if I want one? Anticipating this kind of a discussion, he says, we don't want a fence. The reason why they don't want a fence is
It's too hard to
they bring
maintain.
some very large equipment along the edge of that. They only have a 7-foot right away from the top of the bank. It's not big enough to put their track hoe on that right away. So they have to have the landowner's cooperation to even maintain that. But I can tell you that we will be responsible. Citizens will put in an appropriate fence where its use requires it. I don't think we need to worry about that. We would just ask that you give us some leeway on that. The ordinance does allow for you to meet any of those requirements and to decide whether or not a fence is required or the appropriate. If say we put animals on back space, there's a need for, if we see little kids getting into that area, we probably put a fence up. But I guess you just kind of have to trust us, but also look to the previous use of the property. There have been people on that canal since 1851. It was put in the 1860s. So, but anyway, that's the other. I would just, the planning commission made it really simple for you. It just says adopt the plat map as it is, but they thought they were required to put the fence in. But it says the approving authority gets to decide that. They weren't the approving authority, so you get to decide that. But I would say adopt the plat map as is, except change the dates. We started this in 2021, and so it has dates in 2021. We'll correct that and submit the Mylar, and I think it's ready to go.
Okay, thank you, Dave. All right, any further comments? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the plat, and that we also require them not to place a fence over the, next to the canal company. Omit the requirement.
Requirement to not.
Permit them not.
Absolutely not
It's like a double negative, right?
Okay, so that's the preliminary subdivision plat, correct? Yeah.
So does,
Well, they will need to.
I just wanted some clarification. This does not have to come back to council or to.
It will have to come back to the council for final, and I apologize to the Ericksons, but because it was
Beyond.
noticed prior, and we can get that on the next agenda on the 28th. Just for a final approval. So the way it was first brought forward, it's a preliminary right now, and so we need a final to come back to the council. It doesn't go back to planning commission, but it comes back to the council as a final. And the reason being is they'd initially proposed the road improvements. Those were taken off, but we'd noticed it as a preliminary, and so it has to stay a preliminary right now. And so the final can be approved at the next meeting. I apologize for the delay in that and the hiccups.
The motion being made.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a
We
motion
have
by.
to notice it, so there's,
Yeah.
we worked through that as staff a few times over.
Motion by Arrington, second by Gibson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
You opposed? Motion carries.
Hey, this is just totally a side note, but Dave brought up something, like when we do go to fix that roadway in front of there, we need to look at the bike lanes and adjust them. So just putting that on the record for when that road gets
On Pleasant
finished
View
again on Pleasant View Drive, we need to make some alterations there.
And I'm
Right,
happy
Dave?
to share that with our Transportation Master Plan Committee.
That'd be
Okay.
great.
Item 6 is an escrow agreement. Discussion and possible action to consider approving an escrow agreement for Peak View Plaza Rush, located at approximately 500 West, 2550 North. Amy,
Hey,
this will be in the stuff that was on the table. Thank you, Dave. Thank you.
thank you. Have a great night. So before you this evening is consideration of an escrow agreement. This is our standard escrow agreement language. There were some strange formatting items proposed or brought forward that were in the signed copy. I went through and verified the language paragraph by paragraph to ensure that the language was what we'd sent them. It is.
Should be
Up on your. But there were some strange formatting issues with that, but nonetheless, the language is consistent with what we've provided. It is our standard agreement, and the numbers have been verified by our engineering staff. And so this is the final action required for Peakview Plaza, the Rush location, to proceed with construction
so they
on the
can
site.
start construction now.
They've gotten all of the other things met, and
I'll second the motion. Motion by Gibson, second by Marriott. All in favor, say aye.
I
Opposed, motion carries. It's great. This standardized escrow is really, really very nice.
yeah, I don't know what happened with the fonts, and I tried to ask, and they thought it was our format, but I don't know.
All right, item 7 is ordinance amendments, purchasing policy. Discussion and possible action to consider amending the city purchasing policy to allow purchases to be approved by the city administrator and mayor or mayor pro tem in the amount of up to $30,000, and to preclude the requirement to receive prior council approval to request for bids on projects that have prior budgetary approval by the city council. Ordinance 2022-15. Amy.
Thank you so much, Mayor. So probably the best place to look, and sorry, we had so many packets that I sent Lori the wrong. I named it wrong, but we did email this out to you all when I emailed it to her. So this is something that's come up quite a bit with just challenges in purchasing, and with inflation and cost changes quickly adjusting in this strange economy that we are all in. Just wanted a little bit of expedited movement with ability to purchase. And so this also modifies, this hasn't been changed since 2009, but the amounts for the approval. So I guess I'll just kind of go through this graph here. And so with the approving body, again, this proposes that the city administrator, mayor, or mayor pro tem would have the authority to authorize up to $30,000 in purchasing. That doesn't change the need to get those price quotations for some of these items. but rather allows, so if there's a roadway project that's happening quickly, for something to be moved and allow that purchase to occur. Again, that requires that approval, and instead, of the price quotation starting at anything beyond 2,500. That doesn't mean we're not going to be good and diligent servants and try to look for price decreases as much as possible, but it doesn't require a printed formal price quotation with what's submitted to purchasing. And so then from there, an informal price quotation inclusion with that. And our current ordinance has that the departments have to maintain the records of this and provide those with the invoices, but this clarifies that it would only be provided with the invoices. I don't know if current practice is really accommodating both things, and I think it makes more sense to have it with the official invoices and the expenditures, that the quotations are there and tied in for the public's benefit. And so then from there, there's that 30,000 limitation, similar to what we found in other communities we did look at. And from that, for the city council requiring the sealed bids for proposals at the 30,001 or above. And then the other thing that this ordinance does, and so the ordinance language throughout goes through this different process. And so one of the things with the informal quotation that we did add, instead of just by telephone, the internet, that's a great place to sometimes get price quotes, but also adds, and I know Tyson is just about this one, so that if something has already been budgeted by the city council, that we don't have to come and get permission to go out to bid. We will still come and get permission to award a bid, but instead of getting permission to go out to bid and then permission to award the bid, it eliminates that first step because you've already budgeted funds. Yeah, I love that.
Is there a reason why, and maybe it was just an adjustment, but the purchasing for one-time machinery or equipment, we jumped from 10,000 to 30,000. I don't know why. If that's, well, it's up one more on the bottom of, keep going up, right there, the top.
Oh.
But 040.
040. So this is where, again, it's grouping these a little bit, but Tyson has mentioned, and it's obviously to what your level of comfort is with a lot of the equipment purchases, and with, I mean, if we needed to run out and buy a new truck or something because there was some type of default or with the equipment, that's going to be the lowest cost of that type of equipment. But it's up to your purview on that. Right. 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 Mm. Right. Mm-hmm. Right. Mhm. And if the numbers are wrong, I think that that's fine too. Or if right, absolutely,
I
yeah.
don't know that that's, I mean, I understand what you're saying. Most of it looks to me like it is inflationary, really, adjustment, right? It's just, it hasn't been visited. for
Well,
10
yeah, we haven't visited in several years, but that doesn't mean. I mean, I just went off of what we'd seen in other communities. That doesn't mean that these are the right numbers for our community.
Quite a jump on overall.
But we do have some emergency provisions too.
Maybe define what is allowed.
Right. Right.
You brought up the real subsidy dollars, which sometimes things are available right now, and if they can't wait for city council to approve of the budget.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that.
Well, a lot of the it's just inflationary. The overall, if you can go back to overall, one that Dave brought up, that is quite a jump, and that does change what comes before the city council. Purchases requiring city council approval to go for 10,000 to 30,000 is quite a jump. And if you're saying that's so you can buy a pickup truck, because that's what the cost is, do we want them buying a pickup truck?
It's going to be way more than that,
But probably so now, yeah. But
I think most of it, to me, it feels like most of it is, hey, we're just cleaning up a little bit of inflationary type issues, and if we're streamlining it so we can get quotes without approval, which I think is a good thing. We don't.
They got to bid, the final approval still.
And you don't have to group them all together either. So if there's discomfort with these numbers, I'm fine with having these adjusted or.
Right now, though, he has to ask us, can I go get a bid? That is bogging him down.
Yeah, so you can
And he has
separate
to bring
those
them
if you
back.
want.
And I think that's what's in there.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
But the purchasing. What you're allowed to purchase, maybe.
Well, so right now, the way it's proposed is if it required a sealed bid, they can go out, and it's in the budget. They'll go out, get the bid, but they'll bring the bid back to us. That's how it's proposed right now. If it did not require a sealed bid, and they got informal price quotations, or it's on state contract, they can make and it's in the budget. No, but all that is for is to comply with state law. So, yeah, it's the lowest price. I agree.
Well, and I guess to me, I just need to figure out, and maybe the numbers as is are good, and we just change the requirement to come up, and request to go to bid before we go to bid if it's already budgeted. Because, I mean, 10,000 is the current requiring the approval of the city council. And so if that's where the shift is, and if that's appropriate, then maybe that's where.
The one clarification I would like, And again, it's proposed that me or Amy or currently Steve could make the determination. But if it's budgeted, that's one thing. And let's take a lesser amount, $10,000. We budgeted $10,000 for a new lawnmower. You know, if it comes in at $9,000, one of us should be able to approve that. If it comes in at $10,005, it probably is now over budget, and it needs to come back here and have an explanation and show us this is now I got 3 bids. This is the lowest bid, but it's over budget, because that should require something other than just the wave of, yeah, it's in the budget. No, it's not in the budget. It's $10,005, and you had $10,000. You know.
Can I clarify that? So you're saying if it's over budget and within the price requirements or the approval requirements, so you're saying one of us could approve that?
No.
You're saying
If it's over budget, it comes back to the full council. If it's over the budgeted amount.
even if it's above the 30,000?
Oh, it still comes, if it's above 30,000, it'll definitely come.
It has to come every time,
Yes.
regardless. Yeah, I don't,
That stays the 30,000 and above, but also add, or if it's less than 30, but over the budgeted amount.
yeah, because I think that's good. I like that as well.
Yeah, I mean, when I was a department head at Weber County, I could if it was $1 million and it was in the budget and it came under $1 million, I just signed a requisition to set it purchase. But
I don't think that's
But if it was over $1 million, I had to jump through all kinds of hoops, you know. I have a lot of expensive stuff.
Yeah, but budget doesn't. The thing I worry about budget is it's not based on any quotes, right?
Right.
It's not. I mean, it's just it's a placeholder. We haven't really thought through what that is.
But it's a
Right.
placeholder that says you got that much money and no more.
True.
Unless you come back and
I'm
ask
not
for
saying
some
you're
more.
getting good. You don't know what the
No,
value.
no, it has nothing to do with the deal.
Well, and there's another thing, and I guess that goes to the mayor's point to further muddy the water, but, you know, that was proposed that, you know, anything greater than 5%, or less than could be, approved. And so, I mean, that's a percentage, but the mayor brought up a really excellent point on that one that I think is problematic, is what if the project's $3 million? I mean, 5% of $3
Yeah,
million.
I raised that when I saw this. It's like 5% sounds great unless the project's $3 million and it's 5% over. Should the mayor or the city administrator be approving 5% of $3 million?
But from what I understood too with this, I mean, it's the 5% would not be able to exceed that 30,000. But again, if the 30,000 is not the right number, I think, you know, if there's interest in updating for inflation, but if not, that's okay too.
I understand David's this though, because just because there's 30,000 in the budget doesn't mean you should spend it.
No,
And without it coming back to us, we have no idea what's being.
So what number should we put in there?
But
It's been 10.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just saying the value.
Should we leave it at 10? Should we go to
Which one are you talking about?
040? It's been 10.
Yeah, well, it looks like you raised that
Made what?
to 15 in the previous.
so it's anything 10,001 above.
Yeah,
And so
so
the-
I think it could be in line with what's above there to move that to 15,000. I don't know why we went to 30. I mean, red tape. Yeah.
To get the bids and then to come back and get the approval.
So currently, everything over 10,000 would come to us currently. Both to award the bid and award
Both
the
right
pur-
now, but to award a bid. And so,
we're just
yeah,
gonna
the
let it
question at hand, and
So do you want to leave that at 10? Is that what you're saying?
we already can't exceed the budgeted amount, so it's just allowing us to use the funds that are budgeted.
Right now it's 10,000. So yeah, I don't know what it is.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Ann.
How often have we exceeded these amounts above? Like, are you feeling the pinch that you need that you need it higher? Like,
Tyson's group is filling the pinch, especially with asphalt and some of their equipment. That's where the
Pipe or a fire hydrant.
yeah, everything is. I mean,
okay, so in the upper table part, they're feeling the pinch, but not necessarily in that lower where we changed it to the 30,000, the old 40. They're not feeling the pinch there, but they're feeling the pinch up above.
Well, the problem has become time sensitive. If you need, like the gentleman at the first was saying, well, you haven't patched this yet. That's because we're trying to get enough patches to order, and then we wait for the asphalt and say, okay, we're going to need X amount. Finally, it's available. Well, the package ain't complete yet.
one of
What if
And-
they call up tomorrow and say, we have asphalt available?
One of the things that we talked about as staff, and maybe it can help, is, you know, with the budget, obviously these are all budgeted items that we're talking about, but, you know, maybe it's adding more clarification. And so it's, you know, we're going to need X amounts of asphalt to help with this roadway project throughout the year. I don't know. I mean, some type of
Well, this does say one-time machinery and equipment purchases. So.
And see, I think, I mean, unless it specifies in the ordinance, including roads or whatever, we have this to work with.
There's like extra asphalt that's available and time sensitive. We need to be able to just get it.
Well, why don't we change O40 to
Yeah.
move that either back down to 10 or say 15,000?
I think the 15, I'd be happy.
And then, because that's, well,
This is everything. It doesn't.
It doesn't, it's above 30,000.
if he needed asphalt, it would be in the table above. If it was, well, the way it would work if we changed that, the way it works now, but if we change this to 15,000, the way it would work is if let's say it was 25,000, we need asphalt for this break, this repair, whatever, and it's going to be 25,000. I need it tomorrow. He gets the formal price quote, 25,000, comes to me or Amy and says, I can get asphalt tomorrow, it's 25,000, here's the formal price quote. He would be able to do that. But if he came and said, I needed a lawnmower tomorrow, and it's 25,000, that falls in 040, which is one-time machinery or equipment, and he wouldn't be able to do that. Well, then it would have to be done under emergency, which there's a provision for that.
But you
But-
guys are aware of everything that he's gonna do.
Right.
This is
I
part
can't
of-
imagine he'd
I
need an
really don't
emergency
see why-
lawnmower, but if he did, maybe a plow broke and then we're having worse winter.
And we do have the emergency
But-
clause in here, and so
You
if
guys
there's,
are in on everything, why does it, we only need to have it come back for final bit, approval.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
And
These
so,
these
really-
little ticky tack things is causing him the problems.
Yes. and so
Cement,
I'm okay
concrete
with
pipe, hydrants,
more-
PRVs, those kind of things.
They're expensive now.
I'm totally
Yeah.
okay if the mayor.
As
is
long
in
as-
on it.
but-
It's
but
just
yeah,
like
if he-
that, right there.
But if it's over 15,000 and it's equipment, it's got to come back to us.
I don't think.
Equipment or machinery.
I think it's fine. And then there, and on all of this, it says, Lauren, that's a fact, right? It'll be okay.
Well, you trust them till
And
you know.
Yes, but you guys check everything.
That's true.
And
Does
you're
require
gonna be
approval.
on everything.
but you do have to consider, I mean, we might not be here forever.
I don't know.
Okay.
We might
so
not be here
If there
forever.
if needed
you have to
additional letter,
consider for the
we could say
I'm not.
city administrator and mayor
Yes, if city administrator and mayor,
instead of or.
I think both of you got two checks right there.
That go with you? Okay,
All right.
I'm ready to make a motion on this one.
Motion.
I'd like to make a motion. I know. Exactly.
I really appreciate the thoughtful dialogue.
No,
I think
agree
that's
with you, Steve,
excellent.
I do, but with these two checks, I
Yeah,
think
until
we're
it's
okay.
10:30, then you want to.
I did too. I just made it happy. Look, you've got an election official.
Ann would like to make a motion.
Make it a motion, dang it. Okay. I'd like to make
Got two checks.
a motion that we approve ordinance 2022-15 with the changes, that the approving body be the city administrator and the mayor,
Or
And-
mayor. Pro
and, or mayor pro temp, yes. Two.
City administrator and mayor or.
Yeah.
Yep. And that 040 be changed to $20,000.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
A motion by Arrington, second by Marriott. Further discussion? Okay, roll call vote. Arrington,
Yes.
Marriott,
Yes.
Gibson. Nelson's excused. Yuri.
Yeah.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thankful.
I really like. Sorry, Ann.
No, it's good.
You really like that, so remind me to go into a closed meeting to talk about mental capacity and.
Bring it on.
Got to get it in the right pile of. Okay, here we go.
Park regulations.
Item B under 7 is park regulations. Discussion possible action to amend chapter 12-12 park regulations by requiring insurance for bounce houses, inflatable toys, or water slides. Ordinance 2022-18. Amy?
Thank you, Mayor. You get a lot of me tonight. Sorry.
Doing great. Keep it up.
Okay, so before you this evening is a proposal to amend our park regulations. Recently, in preparing for Founders Day, we had a discussion with our insurer, the trust, and realized that they are not covering inflatable bounce houses, water type toys. And so in any instance where someone is privately coming into our parks and doing that, we have no coverage unless requiring that they bring that coverage. And so this is a modification to request that that coverage be provided by those users. Additionally, and in looking through our park use guidelines, and I am an editor by trade, not intentionally, but I just am. It was very messy. There were things kind of all over the place with where animals and different things were addressed. And so in order to clean up that portion, you'll see in your packet a redlined version and then a clean version of that. So The what?
So
The red lines that are green. Green and red. The
That are
green
gray.
means what green mean? Oh, is it gray in your packet? Well, here's the.
Yeah, there's a lot of changes here.
Yeah, there's several, and a lot of it. I thought you were saying green because the green ones are actually not modifications. It's just movement in the document or flow. So there's
black and white. So I don't know.
Is this time sensitive at all?
just with the ordinance, with the bounce houses and the insurance.
Okay, I had some, as I was looking at this afternoon, I had some problems just the way it was noticed. And then as I was looking through, and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, this is talking about a lot more changes than
Well, the
what I was.
ordinance, and correct me if I'm wrong, Larry, was what was noticed for change. The document is the park use guidelines, and that's a little bit different. So this isn't an ordinance. This is
Park
just.
use guidelines is what you give to the applicant.
Just to let them know how our parks can be used. And if we need to spend more time on it, I don't think that that's a problem. If you want to.
I mean, it should match the ordinance pretty much, right? Or,
The only problem I have is it says, on the agenda, discussion of possible action to amend park regulations by requiring insurance for bounce houses, inflatable floats, and water slides. But then, then there's a lot more changes than requiring insurance. So like I said, the way it was noticed on the agenda versus what we're asking to do, I don't mind doing that part, requiring insurance, but I would like the other to come back maybe.
Okay. No, I don't think that that's a problem.
I think what we do now is require insurance for bounce houses, inflatable toys, and water slides, and the rest can come back to us. Unless that's just my comment. Well, wait.
If it's a city event, our insurance will cover us. If it's a private party going into a park and using those, that's where they need coverage. They are not required unless it's a business right now. So if it's a city event, they will cover it. But if it's a private party in the park, so right now, they need to get their own insurance. And the reason being is otherwise the city's liable and our insurance does not kick in. They won't cover. Yeah. So if somebody, we had a call last year asking, and it ended up raining out, so it wasn't, but asking if they could do some bounce houses in the park. And so our policy has some allowances currently that they can do that, but because it would be just a small birthday party of personal use, we wouldn't require insurance. But talking with the trust, they wouldn't cover that. And so that it puts us in a bad spot.
Good clarification. Yeah.
Right. That's a different, that's a different animal.
Are you guys okay with bringing the other changes back?
I just have a quick question though. So if you're talking about inflatables, are some inflatables like have water with them? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, do they have water coming down the slide? Like, is it a combination?
Some of them can be.
So do we have to discuss, like, I have some issues with the culinary water and drought conditions and stuff that's listed, but if we're doing what the mayor's suggesting, does that cover that right now, or that doesn't matter?
I'd be suggesting bringing that back.
The second
Okay, then let's just bring that back. Okay.
The only thing we're changing now is requiring insurance.
So what the proposal is in this language, and this is something that came from me because of just basically in drought conditions we wouldn't allow any water features. And the culinary water piece, so it's right here, is a requirement at the health department, but again, that's something that
We can discuss later.
Yeah.
But if it's a private
We-
event,
no, if it's in our public parks,
too.
it does.
Swim in the canal every day.
even if, so I get it, if it's a public event, why do you have to be phone ring? But if it's a private event, they still have to ring too, if it's in their public.
If it's in our park.
Well, we'll go through those regulations.
Okay, let's go through that later.
Sorry, I got crazy with my red pen.
I'll second that.
A motion by Gibson, second by Arrington. Further discussion?
We know what, that insurance costs. Has anybody looked at that? Really?
For an individual to get their own event.
Okay, this requires a roll call vote. Arrington.
Yes.
Marriott. Gibson. Nelson's excused. Yuri. Okay, motion passes. Thank you. We look forward to bringing back. I'd like to meet with you on those before we bring them back, though.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, moving right ahead. Public hearing, discuss. How come that wasn't in the other public hearing? All right. Discussion and possible action to adopt the water conservation plan dated September 2022, resolution 2022-J.
I'd like to make a motion that we open the public hearing.
Motion by Arrington, second by Gibson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
In the public. We'll let her present it and then we'll, yeah.
You
Doubt.
having fun yet? You should have brought treats, didn't you?
About that as well.
You should. We're gonna have to.
I want to put you
And
on
you
the.
bring some, I'll bring some.
We'll only require one or two.
That sounds great.
Here. Yes. Okay.
Before we
So before you this evening is the September 2020 Water Conservation Plan. And it is the 2020 plan. There was a hiccup in bringing this forward to the council for consideration prior, and so that's why it hasn't been here, but the plan has been actively utilized just the same. Tyson profusely apologized that this didn't come further. There was just a lot going on and it had fallen through the cracks. So in talking with him, because we have an official superintendent for water now, we don't anticipate the same issue happening in the future. So this is the water conservation plan that was prepared by Jones and Associates. Goes into depth about the different needs from the culinary side and the different services within our community. So I don't know if there's any specific questions you have for me relative to the plan. It's something that is required by state law, and so I'm looking to gain compliance with that.
good to have done.
Yeah.
So this has a lot of information on usage, which I think is really good for us, but I think it's helpful for people to see what our average usage of culinary water is, and then compare. I think there's a way, and I haven't done this, but maybe it's you can actually go look at your meter and see what you're using on a daily basis. Is that available if you have readable?
I'm not certain, but I can ask Tyson and get that information back to you all.
I'm just looking at it right now as a conservation
Mm-hmm.
thing, and
Education's always good for.
Yeah.
and education being more than an ability to measure yourself, which I know a lot of the older meters, I'm sure we can't do that, but no, I just wondered if there yeah.
We
Could you-
we
could
can
you
get
sign
with
up
him.
for that. I mean, could I?
The new one in. Okay.
And he told me about a third of the meters are currently auto read.
When does someone else go around and read the other ones, like quarterly or something?
Yeah.
When you get your bill, does it tell you how many you've used? So you could be able to tell by your bill monthly.
Yeah, okay, I was just looking at more.
So we
real-
have
real
about
time.
200 and he thought there'd be a question about auto read, so he gave me the data. So we have about 2,500 current customers and 770 on auto read.
What? We'll be running a little slower. Yeah. Depends how old your old one was, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, are there any members of the public that wish to address us on this item? Seeing no, I'd entertain a motion to
I'll make
close
a motion to go out of closed hearing, or what are we?
public hearing. Motion by Marriott, second by Gibson. All in favor, say aye. Motion by Gibson, second by Marriott. Any further discussion?
Well, I just thought it was interesting as far as discussion goes that we're saying you have to use culinary water on a water slide, and then you say we want to save water. Like that was for me like, are you serious?
And that's why the provision after that said it wouldn't be allowable in drought conditions.
All right, call for the vote. Arrington,
Good call. Yes.
Gibson, Marriott, Nelson's excused, jury. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay. Next item, as you turn the page, I have a call for a 7th inning stretch.
Yes.
So we'll take a 5-6 minute break. That's okay.
It's gonna go faster from here, I bet. Does anyone need any chocolate?
It's been 2 hours, a little over 2 hours, so let's take a minute.
We're not even halfway through yet.
The second half of the meeting is just gonna fly.
Oh, no.
Four short. Maybe one or two.
Steve and Sarah.
No. No, not at all. No, no. No way.
We really
Yeah,
need to have chocolate.
It's like secondary water. And then there was a bar that you had.
I live for music.
Uh-huh.
So poorly written. It was so bad. It was so bad. I cannot with a right mind not touch this thing. I know.
It's true.
Well, it's totally fine. I didn't do it that either. Well, I started telling you that. I'm like, I can't just keep one part of it. It's so hard.
A lot less dangerous than
Oh wow, Anne really does have to fly. My daughter is allergic to raisins, so Olivia. So just saying, yeah. So. Whoa! Wow. Are those the donuts?
no, it's fine. I just
Hey, that's okay.
no raisins and still.
Larry sent it over to me. And so bad. So bad. And I'm reading it. So bad. I'm like,
Holy cow.
It was quite expensive. Some of the sentences, they just even go together. And then
Oh, butter. You use the good vanilla. What vanilla?
I don't know.
Well, I can taste it right away. That's way good, Em. I want to know your recipe. Wait a minute, how did you get the whole bowl? You want a cookie?
No, Em?
Helmet? Roger Rome.
Bob is the Pullman State Police in March. How many miles do I go? I don't know. But I think, no, the Pullman, I think, takes the first place in the Washington Mile.
So you stay late and you get treats. You should tell everybody else that. Have you ever seen Jim Cummings grow up? Oh my gosh.
Chocolate? No. Hey.
These aren't raisins, are they?
Wait, is it chocolate?
Taste it, let me know which one I should take, chocolate or the.
I always go for chocolate. My advice is it's delicious. The chocolate is divine. I tell you, I was up to my girls.
Right over there. On the table. Hey, Ann brought them in. Mhm. Oh, well, she brought them to the chief. Actually, her husband brought them to the chief.
Today. Tomorrow, Saturday. They're going on Friday.
What? You guys are going tomorrow. We're going to
Well,
Saturday.
Saturday. There's a Saturday.
Can we go tomorrow?
There's a
Can we
Friday.
get an exclusive concert tomorrow? That'd be awesome.
They'll be hoarse by Saturday.
After tonight's meeting, it will be tomorrow.
Yeah.
She's not that. Did you hear her say?
She's so cute.
Do you have more treats in your car after the next interval?
Yes. So they can just have it and give it to their grandkids.
Okay.
Alrighty.
I'll take a picture of it and send it to you.
Is this a secret recipe?
Oh.
These are homemade?
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm
If you want another one, hold
I'm
on,
gonna
I'll pass them
cherish
down.
this forever.
I'm not the only one that got a chocolate.
Andy got one.
They've got one.
What? Would you stop?
Oh my gosh. I didn't mean it that way, but
Sexual harassment to the minimum.
yeah.
All right, we back on the record?
All right, let's go.
We're back.
Never left it. All right. Item 9 is right-of-way dedication. Discussion possible action to approve a right-of-way road dedication plat for two-way street conversion directly adjacent to the Sun Pro Company development on 1000 West between 2700 North and 2550 North. Amy.
Yes, this one should be very fast. So this item has come before you. There's already been funding allocated. There may be, we have a cost sharing agreement that'll be coming on your next agenda. There may be additional funding required because of cost increases, back to the roadway cost increases. But this is to accept the road dedication at this area from the property owner. And I don't know if there's any questions.
Motion by Gibson, second by Uriel. Sorry. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 10.
We're getting very,
They're
very,
very
close.
close to breaking ground there, aren't they?
So we have a cost sharing agreement with them that's going to come forward to your next meeting, and then after that they'll be able to break ground.
Okay, item 10 is firework 2022 contract. Discussion and possible action to approve a contract with Vortex Production for the 2022 Founders Day fireworks show. Sarah.
Without going into too much detail, we had to last minute switch the company, and if you want to know more, I'll tell you later, unless you really want to know now. But we had to switch because the other one doesn't have a. But that's okay. I'll tell you more details if you want to. So, got in contact with Vortex Fireworks. They're amazing. They come highly recommended. He's providing us with not one or six, so let's see, 25.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. What do we need?
Well,
Are they going to set them off?
there's a story behind that as well.
Are they going to set them off, or is Tyson?
They are.
Okay.
You don't need it, but you'll have a really cool thing if you have it.
Okay.
Okay, but anyway, they're
Not
still
costing
doing
us
a great
anymore.
show. Last minute, $20,000, the same amount that, that Fire Term was going to do, and they're doing all the music and everything else that you want. So anyway,
Are the aerial shells kind of compatible to what we had?
so
Okay.
we're actually adding more
Okay.
to the 8-inch one.
There's the list for the show.
You did, and it was 2 days when we had a founders day meeting. I just talked to the other guys 2 days before. Yeah. Yes.
People love it.
That's what I told him. He has done the Olympics. He does several cities. He's very good friends with the guy that we usually use. So yes, he's bid for our city before. He knows exactly what he wants.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the contract for the fireworks 2022 with Vortex Production.
Okay, motion by Arrington, second by Gibson. Any further discussion? It'll be good to see the competition. Does not require a roll call vote, does it? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, let's move on to item 11, vehicle leases. Discussion of possible action to approve 2 3-year leases with the band corps for 2 police vehicles. Chief. They won't be ready before July 1st, will they? Or will they? Don't know. But these are ready and we need to pay for them. Yeah. Okay.
This market.
What, these trucks, what type of vehicles are they?
Not too big.
Black ones? Great. Good work.
Okay. Okay.
It's next year's budget. isn't it?
Yeah, it's just noticed on here for approval of two.
I think we could get it on the next agenda, chief, for the other one.
All right. Good. Okay. Have a motion by Steve to approve the 2 3-year lease agreement. I have a second. Motion by Gibson, second by Yuri. Further discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 12 is a towing agreement. Discussion and possible action to approve towing agreement with Lost Recovery Incorporated.
Press for proposals.
They're regulated by the state.
And I believe those are included in your package.
That's why this is just a request for proposal for service and not for, any kind of dollar amount. Yeah, that came out of Tollgate also.
I'll second.
Motion by Gibson, second by Arrington. Any further discussion?
Is this just an annual agreement?
This one's just good for a year. I don't know if it's got an automatic renewal.
I think we need to review it. Some
Actually,
period.
that's first. Yeah. Okay. Call the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
What was the timeline for review? Annual, okay.
Okay, 13 is on-call policy, which that calls for that in the contract, maybe. It's just a 1-year contract.
I thought it was a 2 or 4 year contract.
It says, this agreement shall commence on the effective date. The term of the agreement shall be a period of 12 months from the date of this agreement and may be extended upon mutual consent of both parties. All right. She always questions my ability to retain things. It's a thing with she.
Well, my ability
just
at this
questions
point
it.
in the agenda is getting sketched, so.
Come on, it's not even 9 o'clock.
I know.
Item 13 is the on-call policy. Discussion of possible action to amend the on-call policy regarding compensation and response time. Amy?
Hey, thank you. So this is something that's come up as of recent, just as a concern with, and Tyson wasn't able to make it due to some
Talked
family
about it at
medical.
budget time, didn't we?
We did a little
Okay.
bit, yeah. So this is to adjust from 30 to 45 minutes, and then with this other, and I don't know. Laurie and I kind of talked about this. I don't know if it was, a hiccup. I think we were looking at a time and a half for that with the conversation. I think the other policy had doubled, and so yeah, I think the recommendation would be a time and a half.
You're saying that this isn't correct, that it should be time and a half instead of.
That's what I would recommend.
Instead of 2 hours, it'd be 1.5 hours. You're talking about
Is that a
something
different
else.
one?
You're talking about you're talking about
Oh,
response hours. This is just on call
okay.
to be available within that 30-minute or 45-minute window. 'Cause you budgeted for this at this rate.
Yes. Yeah, we did budget for this. This is, sorry. This is solidifying that. Okay.
2 hours.
So it's no. So this is, I'm sorry, this is not double time. This is, instead of getting paid 1 hour
To be on call.
to be on call, it's 2 hours of your regular daily rate.
So if they're on call and they don't get called in, they get paid for right now 1 hour
Mm-hmm.
to just be on call.
But they're not allowed to go anywhere
Far away
beyond
at all.
mhm,
Now, they wouldn't.
2 hours. Yeah, this
If
is,
they if they do get called in, it'd be
it'd be,
time and a half, whatever.
mhm.
Regular time, depending on.
And then
how
if
many
it's on a weekend or a holiday, then they'd get 4 hours for that time.
2 hours plus whatever time you're actually doing. And then.
Correct. Plus whatever time they're doing something. Mhm.
Per day, so they're all.
Sorry, I got this mixed up with something else. Laurie and I were talking about. So right now they're only getting an hour, and I mean when they're on call and can't go anywhere beyond. Mhm.
required
Mhm.
by law.
But they get
And,
called. They get paid 1 hour for just basically being being available the whole time.
So 2 hours.
Holidays
4
and
hours.
weekends. Mhm.
Or weekends.
Weekends
Per
and
day,
holidays.
4 hours per day, if they're like.
Mhm. So if it's like Christmas Day,
Because
they
it's not
get.
always the same person. That's part of the problem is having trouble. No, it's problem having people to take the on call because they don't like to stay around
Yeah, so they're having a hard
for
time.
$15 an hour.
$15 a day.
$15 a day, right?
So we're
I mean,
Or whatever.
Friday on the weekend. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah.
This does.
Friday night, basically it's after work hours.
'Cause on call wouldn't qualify for regular hours.
How does that work? Is it stay on call for the whole weekend typically? So if you have one person. Okay. And for weeknights, they're on call, but there's no additional pay for the weeknights. Or is there?
So that's where they get the 1 hour. So if it's a weeknight, then they get 1 hour, but it's proposing to go to 2. And then if it's a weekend night or a holiday.
Even though they're on call from Wednesday, I mean, if they're on Wednesday to Wednesday and they have a special event or something, let's say it's their wife's birthday, they'll call somebody else who will take the on call for that day, whatever. So it's a lot of juggling, Tyson says, because in the current environment, nobody really wants to be on call. I get it. So that's what he came up with.
On Fridays, do they work until 5 or they work a half day?
They do work until 5 in the Public Works Department. So this would be any time between 5 and midnight.
I just think, for me personally, I think that Friday should just be considered a weekday since they're already, like,
It's a work day.
yeah, it's a work day. So, in my opinion.
The other days are 24 hours, and that would only be like a 12-hour or 14-hour.
And so that could be changed to Saturday through Sunday if desired.
Saturday, Sunday, yeah.
Well, if somebody has to be on call on Friday night, so they would be compensated if they.
2 hours.
You're still getting 2 hours though. Instead of 4.
Motion.
Everybody good with that?
I like that.
All right. I'd like to make a motion.
I was just wondering up to 30 to 45 minutes. If they're on call, I don't know if that's.
Well, it was 30 because everybody lived close. Now that's not the case. We're getting employees that live in Roy, or
That's a good point.
no longer just the local
Getting
guys
farther.
anymore, like it used to be in the good old days.
They don't have to be in the city during that time and all. They just have
No, they just have to be within that response time. And the response time, I will say too, because of the way our policies are with vehicles, they can take an online on-call truck, right? Or no. So they have to come back here to the city and then be to wherever it is within that time frame.
Yeah, the IRS don't let you do that more. That's considered a benefit, a taxable benefit.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt policy 2022-3 with the change that on Friday nights it would be 2 hours instead of the 4 as listed.
I'll second the motion. Motion by Arrington, second by Marriott. Further discussion? Call a roll call vote. Arrington?
Yes.
Gibson? Marriott?
Yes.
Nelson's excused. Yuri? Motion carries. Thank you. All right. Item 14 is audit services. Discussion and possible action to approve audit services with Child Richards, CPAs, and advisors. Laurie?
Free to say Amy, but
Sorry, I was telling you to do that. Okay.
yeah.
Do I gotta find this?
So our prior auditors, they're agreeing with us. Now, I called about 5 of these things, staff, some of them referred to somebody else. I called other people before, so I think that's what that says, yeah, they can send it, the proposal, and then it comes back, that one back, that's all of us, and it was us and them. And so we're just recommending that those things again. And I think all these other years that we've done, I think we got a good deal with them, and so we realized that we really didn't have contract with them. You know what I mean? And then we have that to go on. I don't know. But I think we got a good deal on it. We were over here. Oh, right here.
And it is nice that they break out the single audit fees because that wasn't broken out before. So we just had no anticipation when we accepted and then passed the CARES Act funding to the county that there would be that attached with it.
We don't usually have to deal with single audit fees, only when things weird come up like the CARES Act or, yeah.
Federal money over $750,000.
Because then a different set of eyes looks at things and makes sure we're in compliance in a different way.
Motion by Gibson, second by Uri. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 15, ARPA Employee Retention Agreement. Discussion possible action to approve the employee retention agreement in accordance with American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA, funding received. Amy.
I finally figured out where the 6 years came from on the towing thing. My brain's kind of coming together, I hope.
You need another cookie, getting low on
I
sugar?
do, we're out of chocolate, right?
Here, you can have one. Haven't opened it.
No, I'm not gonna keep the cookie here. Okay, so before you this evening and if approved, I know the employees will be absolutely elated with this one. So this is the American Rescue Plan Act funding. And we've had a few discussions about this and different purposes for this. In your past meeting, there was a budgetary approval to put some of this towards the employees and some of this towards the Children's Justice Center in a contribution to Beaver County, and we're still working on securing that with them. We've got to get some additional information to get that over to them. And then we've also put some money towards some of our public works projects at this point, and there is still additional funding in the next fiscal year to address. But one of the things and provisions within this that's allowable is employee retention. And so before you this evening is a proposal to utilize the $280,000 that was appropriated for the employee retention bonuses that are one time. And there's an agreement attached here for use for this. And so the agreement ultimately distinguishes with our full and part-time with benefits and our limited part-time without benefits and just about 10 hours or less employees. And focuses in on the priority of our employees and their contributions and allows for, again, this one-time retention bonus, either in the amount of $5,000 or for the limited part-time $2,500, subject to federal and state income taxes, to basically agree if they're in good standing for retaining employment for a year. If they leave prior to that, then there would be a payback portion for that to ensure basically that there's a prorated repayment if they don't abide by that 1 year. And then for employees that are in probationary period, they need to wait until they're past that period. And this also includes extending that to future and new employees hired before September the 1st, 2022, allowing eligibility for participation there. And so that could be, I know we're having some challenges hiring right now, a possible incentive that after 6 months you could qualify for this if they're before that point. So I don't know if there's any questions at this time with that agreement.
Questions?
Well, and yeah, that's, I completely agree. Well, and we could not accept the money, but
Yeah.
It doesn't go there.
I wholeheartedly agree with you. Yeah. And no one asks where the money comes from. At least in local government, we know where. Yeah. It comes from.
Just one
Right, but
one thing just about the agreement. Says the agreement entered this day, blank day of June. You know, if somebody is hired prior, to September 1st, so like August 15th. I would just make that a blank to fill in
there as well. Okay. Yeah.
the form.
That's a good point.
Also, the mayor asked for conflict of interest in the beginning. I forgot about this one, so I just have to say that my son is employed as a summer employee for Pleasant View City. So just want to declare that. Spencer Arrington. Probably won't be, I don't know if it's just summer or not. But he has to be here 6 months. But I'm just saying that could be, I'm just declaring that, okay?
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, how do we come up with the full-time and part-time versus?
Well, those are just classifications of employees we currently have.
Well, we're saying.
So the, and that was based on, so I don't know if you remember in our budget workshop or whatnot, we just had a breakdown of all the possible uses for ARPA funding, and so that was just a pool that we'd put together for employees possibly.
This is actually reduced. It was presented to me with a little higher amounts, and I brought it down a bit. And now they don't like me, but
But I will say,
but no,
you know,
I thought this was
the inflation has gone up substantially, very much Councilmember Gibson's point, and it's hitting employees pretty hard. And there's been lots of comments, and it's a hard deal. And part of why we have the part-time that are not limited part-time included in this pool, if they're part-time and they're here for more than 18 months, I mean a cost of gas is the same, or right.
I'd say that's true, but in most cases, everybody's having to pay more for their employees. It's happening across the board, and as soon as we do this, then it forces the private sector to do more.
unless you
Unless
have a
they
gas
apply for
station.
it, they can, but it's up to that.
Back to your,
It's the mom and pops that aren't. The big corporations are. But the mom and pop, the little guy, like Steve says.
In principle, yes, I agree with what you're saying.
Right.
Where does society take a stand? I think it's going to naturally take a stand. November.
And dollars that don't exist, I think that's the problem.
I would like to see though. I'm not sure the seasonal employees. We need seasonal employees, but $2,500, or is that it has to be more than 6 months for $2,500.
And it's even beyond that. So they have to agree to the terms of the agreement. So if it's a seasonal employee, I mean, they're ultimately going to have to work 18 months for the city in order to qualify.
Okay.
So I'm sorry, your son
Oh, that's
probably wouldn't fall into that. But maybe he'll be back. And that's the thing, I think. So we do have some part-time limited employees, like our bailiffs or different things that they're here, and we're trying to retain them. Tyson's had our new superintendent position open for 3 months, and they're getting no applicants. No, it's a struggle. It's an absolute struggle.
So referees and all that would not qualify for this.
No.
That's why I was wondering, maybe should we increase the full-time and part-time employees and reduce the seasonal ones? I don't know. It just.
And there's not many of them. How I
They
can't
come
remember
back
the-
somewhere. They do. If it's okay.
No.
No, but like parks, and maintenance and things like that. Yes. Yes.
And can we?
Oh.
He's full time. Maybe limited part time without benefits. Limited. What's that mean? You don't define that anywhere. Should that say permanent part time
I thought I
without
filled it
benefits?
out. That was one of Laurie's edits. Where's the?
Who are seasonal or work less than 10 hours should be bonus.
Most of your part-time employees work more than 10 hours a week.
But you say less than 10 hours a week are eligible to receive 2,500.
After 18 months is what
Have to be here a year and a half.
Qualify.
But sign that they'll stay.
Mhm.
And if they leave before, then I have to pay that.
Part-time employees who are seasonal or work less than 10 hours are eligible to receive bonus. In the middle of the page, part-time employees who are seasonal or work less than 10 hours per week are eligible. So if I ref baseball and I've been working on my third season of reffing, do I qualify?
Are you sure? Because they work less than 10 hours a week. So they are eligible according to this. And they're seasonal. In fact, everybody is eligible under this. And they're seasonal.
I think we had a different version.
And so all those cute little 16 and 15-year-olds that are awesome, that they work less than 10 hours a week, they're going to get, that's how it reads, so. So how would we make that better?
There's another version here.
Yeah, so if you're working 11 hours a week, then this should qualify for 5 hours.
They're pretty good at this. That's about what they were. But then you have everybody else back for 3 points.
So crossing guards are going to get $5,000?
What's the total? Do we have a total number of what that would be? Total cost? $280,000. That's all for retention bonus, the whole 280.
So would it exclude a lot of people if we said 20 hours? Would it exclude a lot of them?
I think it's one.
Yes. Can we add a third here?
How many hours are the crossing guards getting a week?
What about, like I said, these, what classification do we classify reps? But it says seasonal.
This was the version, yeah.
Or work less.
So I think if there's desire to modify it, we can absolutely.
Modify right now. We'll do that.
How do we?
We want to do this before the first month. We want to do it.
Okay,
Yeah,
so what?
yeah. Exactly. So are the crossing guards are considered seasonal? Okay, so can we say that seasonal is not eligible?
So employees who, and I don't know, if we take out the word seasonal, maybe we need to specify that seasonal employees do not qualify.
And then maybe cite some examples. Seasonal employee, i.e. rats on fires, or anybody else following that.
There's seasonal parts.
Do we want the seasonal part?
Well, and yeah, that's I think why we had seasonal in there, because there were some that come back every year.
But are they under 10 hours? Are the seasonal park workers under 10 hours?
Probably not.
Probably not.
So maybe you can say, and seasonal employees such as, you know, you could exempt referees, that you would get them out of there.
Do they work more than 10 hours though?
But they don't work all year long.
But is she a rep or is she a assistant?
Does she work year long?
That's part-time, isn't it? She part-time? Okay, then we're still okay. If we get rid of seasonal, as long as she's part-time. Then we can get rid of seasonal altogether.
Seasonal employees do not qualify.
Yeah.
Okay, so then the 10 hours, that we can do that.
That's fine. As long as we get rid of.
Like, yep. So I took out the word limited. Sorry, that was the suggestion Larry gave me, and I. The language, I changed it to, right here in this section. I don't know if it'll let me highlight it. There's only one person without benefit.
Getting in a chunk, get in.
No, well, we could, but we're trying to avoid that. We're trying to spend this chunk of money this year, we put in a year to avoid the same product.
Yeah.
They know, oh, that's gonna be hard to get them to pay it back though if they leave, right?
Is there a contractual agreement? And this is pretty binding.
Well, so on the last paycheck, did you just not pay them? Okay. All right.
Daily, I don't know.
Well, I'm still just
Okay.
working on the how.
So I've got some language really quick. In this paragraph here, sorry, it won't let me highlight it, but so full-time, 3/4 time, and part-time employees with benefits who average more than 10 hours a week are eligible to qualify for a retention bonus in the amount of $5,000. And part-time employees who work less than 10 hours are eligible to receive a bonus in the amount of $2,500. Seasonal employees do not qualify. These
Okay.
bonuses are subject to federal and state income tax.
Yeah. It isn't really going to change if you go 19, 15, or 10. It's going to be the same group of employees.
Make sense?
Do we have a motion then? Somebody?
Okay, so, I would like to mention we approve that we are with the modifications that we have discussed.
So I can list them. Okay. So adding a clarification to the third paragraph under overview, indicating that seasonal employees do not qualify, and there was no adjustment to the 10 hours, correct? And then modifying that month and including a blank there to allow some flexibility with the month that the agreement is entered into.
Okay, do I have a second?
Okay, so I make that motion with what was said, with the ARB.
The only thing I would suggest, maybe as part of the motion is if there is a problem, if we have an employee that we're uncertain about, that Laurie, Amy, and myself can make a determination what category they fit into.
There's some modifications that we made.
Do I have a second then? Guess we're gonna die.
I prefer not a second just because of my conflict.
Oh, that's true.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, motion by Yuri, second by Marriott. Okay. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. Motion carries 3-1. Or is that aye? Okay. All right.
We just
Nay.
thought the timing was
Okay, yeah, I was retirement, item 16. Yes, carries 3-1. Retirement contribution pickup election. Discussion and possible action to approve the employee pickup election of employee retirement contributions for Tier 2 Public Safety Resolution 2022-M. This is something we have to do every year. I'm not sure why it can't be just done once and be done, but all right. And this is just Tier 2 Public Safety.
Oh, explain to me quickly what a pickup election is. Okay. Okay.
And again, it's just for Tier 2 Public Safety. They negotiated something with the legislature 4 or 5 years ago with their retirement, and then they said, okay, went out to all the cities, and pretty much everybody's picked this up, because if you don't, you can't compete. That's
I'll second.
motion by Yuri, second by Arrington. Further discussion? Roll call vote. Arrington.
Yes.
Gibson. Marriott. Yes. Nelson's excused. Yuri. Motion carries. Thank you. Item 17, consolidated fee schedule. Discussion and possible action to amend the following fees. Resolution 2022-N. A, sewer rates. B, garbage and recycle rates. C, recreation and registration fees. D, subdivision and planning and zoning publishing fees. E, grammar research. F, basement rental fee. G, ICC building valuation data. There's a whole bunch of stuff in here. And it didn't say who's going to cover it, I guess. Laurie. Nobody wanted to.
Flipping a coin.
Well, we can co-cover. How about that?
Let's take them one at a time.
I don't think I have one. Do I? Oh, here. Gotcha.
This is just the basement rental only.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
let's
can-
take them one at a time. Sewer rates first.
Yeah, so this is an increase and somewhat of a pass-through because the rates are going up with the Central Weaver Sewer District. And so it's a bump up in what we're charging in order to cover what our expenses are with the sewer
Yeah, I
district.
believe that was a 9% increase they passed. Okay. So that's a pass. That's basically a
A
pass
pass-through, exactly.
Okay.
I don't know if there's any questions on that. And then
Garbage.
garbage and recycling rates. So this is kind of similar. It's just an increase in our rates and kind of
Tipping went up. Tipping fee went up. Maybe that was the $9. Was it $9, Laurie? Do you remember? I don't think so.
We're not getting an additional charge, but they are trying to tag those cans, and then they will ultimately pull the recycle bin if there's a repeated issue.
When we went and toured it, they did spot audits.
But they don't charge.
They, no, but it would affect it could affect your rate moving
Yeah.
forward.
No.
But they did say like if your community wasn't doing a good job of it, then they would increase
Right.
your.
And they'll let us
fees.
know.
Yeah, they'll let us know.
They will let us know. Yeah.
Yeah. Mine's really full.
And we've been trying to work with the provider a lot because we were very frustrated with the way that the maps were communicated. Tried to proactively put out our own maps, but a lot of damage was done before, and there's been some issues. Yeah. No.
Okay. So, any further discussions on garbage?
Total.
What? Did we skip ahead?
On the back page right here. The
Basement rental fee.
There's still a balance published here.
Yeah,
On garbage and recycling. So there's a little.
we walk through those.
There's an option in the fourth whereas at the bottom that's in italic.
The excess revenue over expenditures from the prior year as a credit. This would create a 70% credit on the garbage fees and 20%.
You're saying instead of going to the full rate, we could back it off by 70 cents because we have a little bit excess right now.
I would use all the okay for sure.
The only thing I worry about with that, like instead of going the full distance, like then it's gonna look like a major increase when we've used up our surplus. You know what I'm saying? So maybe we could do like half of it so that you don't jump from
35 cents.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
No.
No.
And if we have some excess, then why not just like?
Yeah, I think so.
You're saying.
Well, I was just calculating, my bill's gonna go.
So
Based on all of this, that's $7.
9% without inflation.
What if we? Let's go more than that. Let's go to the 1150.
I think so because then next year when they go up again, it doesn't feel like such a major increase,
it
even
in
though
more
it
than
was. Like even though it was even, it would feel like oh.
Why is everything that we do for a while?
Until we get this economy under.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
Garbage would be 10.
She's saying divide the credit in half, 35 cents.
We could do.
So you're saying use 35% credit on the garbage and 10 cents on the recycling. Okay. What was next? Recreation registration fees?
And that's just to add it to the consolidated fee schedule. That hasn't currently been part of the fee schedule, but we've been charging the fee. So my opinion is the council should be approving any fees that we're doing.
And there's no increase on those.
No, it's just what we've done. It's just putting it into the fee schedule.
Okay.
Subdivision and planning and zoning publishing fees.
kind of be more reflective of staff time and take out the costs that we're not utilizing.
So it's gone from
Does that
200 down to 75.
I like that.
But yeah, does that cover our costs though? Let's don't go all the way if we don't.
Yeah, it felt like it would cover our costs.
I did want to make one note under building permits on our fee schedule. There's just a typo. It says demolition minimum fee, and it's like it reads minus $100. Minus sign, if you would. I know it's ticky tacky, but okay. Don't want to be paying people for.
Every building permit.
I'm here to get a build. I'm going to come in every day for demolition. Maybe $100. Okay. Grandma research.
So we've
Grandma
seen
research.
an influx in our grandma requests, and we really were charging very minimal, but it's a bump up here.
Okay, does still fall within state code? Okay, great. That's a user fee. If you use it, you need to pay to do it. Item F is the basement rental, and that's the one that changed.
Yeah, and I'm happy to go into depth on that. I know you had some questions, Councilor Gibson. Yeah, so my recommendation, and I know we've been talking a lot about security here at the City Hall in the past with basement rentals, and we haven't done them in a while because of well, first of all, COVID, and then the construction of the Veterans Monument. And we're still working through ADA issues with renting the basement. I think we just need to clarify whoever's renting it. It doesn't fully comply with ADA. So just so that somebody doesn't come and bring a family member unexpectedly and we have some problems.
It's that what is it that doesn't comply? Just like bathroom?
So it's the slope going in under.
Slope. Okay.
Yeah, and we don't have an elevator or anything, so that's the challenge. We're trying to work through those details, I know. But one of the things just with security and even just with, customer service for people that are utilizing the building, I'd like to have staff here while people are here. So if somebody's here on a weekend, we have a staff member here to assist, to help provide information. And I know that staffing it costs money, but it also helps to protect our building. We've got all of our records here, all of our police evidence. We don't want somebody accidentally burning down the building or something. Okay. We're working on getting the doors in. Yeah. And our intent is not to charge for the prep work if they're coming in during regular business hours.
Whatever that fee is, I don't think we've had a couple problems.
Yeah, we've had deep fryers. We've had people wanting to modify the paint downstairs. We've had people remove the inserts of the door.
So, but that, the last 2 years,
I think it's okay to have somebody involved.
It's on back from an old
Speaker.
and turned it on. It hasn't worked for years. It's back on modern.
We've got the doors and talked about for years.
And those are in progress.
Well, let's talk about the fee then. It's currently $100. So, and I'm okay with that concept as long as they're, I don't think we give $125 and say you get it for a 24-hour period. Well,
That's really, I think they should have to pay more. That's really, that's a deal. Yeah, but no community center, not even a project. This isn't something, I really do. What makes all of our reservations? What can happen? You're not going to get anything. It doesn't even matter if there's a door. Oh, really? Something happens.
So you're saying $50 an hour for after-hour reservations and 20 per hour for during office hours, because someone's already going to be here.
You know, it's just a little weird. When we could have somebody.
And we have secured that one now.
If we have somebody here who's in another room, it's just fine, they'll leave them alone. That way everything's.
well, that's,
If we pay them, they will, they'll come in after hours.
We did find an arrangement if there is interest in going that direction. If there's not, that's fine too. But with our prior cleaning person, she was willing to possibly do that for us and to come in. And I think it's a customer service thing, if anything, so they know where things are, what we have available. I want to have a checklist of how many tables, chairs. So let me pull the numbers for you really quick. Yeah.
23 per month.
So about 2 a month.
Whatever it is, we do that. So,
But I think it's okay to have somebody here. I think it's okay to have somebody.
Know what the average time is that they're here normally? Like, do you have any idea? What is it? 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours? Do you have any idea? About a 4-hour average.
If they are.
and answer questions.
Yeah.
Currently, they're calling the on-call people.
Right now they call Tyson's guys the on-call. So I mean, going back to the on-call policy, I think that that's not really lending to. Well, we have them helping with, yeah.
So we're saying the $50 for the first hour and then $20 per hour after that.
No, the $20 per hour is during business hours, and so kind of back to, I don't know who brought up the community center. Yeah, and so really, letting them come and rent it out for a meeting. And the other thing too, if they come to, let's say they have some type of, birthday party or something, if they wanted to set up on Friday, we wouldn't charge them anything for that. If they come during regular business hours, because staff's already here, we can help them, we can assist. I've just noticed with the few requests that I've gotten, there's lots of questions about the facility down there. It'd be nice to have somebody who knows the facility, who knows how to access things, and if, there's something.
So there's extra this or that.
Most of them.
Yeah, most are on weekends, holidays, type of thing.
For 4-hour rental, that's on a weekend, maybe $200. That's what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's reasonable.
And that's for wear and tear and then staffing. But if you'd like to eliminate the staffing, we could reduce that.
The only concern I brought up is I don't want this to become, the staffing to become the crutch to not rent it out. Does that make sense? Because honestly, to the staff, this is an inconvenience.
We just don't have enough staff, yeah.
And I get that. But I don't want it to be, oh, we can't let you have this rental because we don't have. So I don't know what we're gonna do in most cases, but.
Well, and I feel like we've got an actual decent plan because we have made contact with our prior cleaning staff, and she's willing to come, and then we have a couple of staff members that have expressed interest in overtime, and so they could be back up. I don't foresee staffing it being an issue. I think we've resolved that issue. But
And so I said we will. Yeah. Because I just don't want it to be. We can't rent it to you because we don't want to watch it.
We're making it more doable.
That's not why it's there.
and I don't think we necessarily have to have a staff person downstairs next to the event either. I think they could just be upstairs. I mean, they don't need to be right at the event, but if they have any questions or needs, they can come right downstairs and be able to check them in, check them out, help them with whatever they need with door locking.
Back to the fee, it's $50 an hour, 2-hour minimum. Really low, it's a 4-hour event, it's two, I mean, that's doubling it. Should it be 2-hour minimum at 100 and then $50 an hour or something after that? It'd be $100.
And if you want a maximum amount, maybe
First hour, $50, and then you get
No, I don't, I'm just asking. I think, because I don't think there are going to be very few 2-hour events. Right. We just want to cover the cost of our employees. So I think let's cover our cost of cleaning, billing, and scheduling all that, and commission costs, and let's charge the hourly rate after that. So in my mind, it's minimum $50, it's $50 an hour, minimum 2 hours. Then you go to it makes it really difficult for an employee to be there and monitor it. And there's risk in that too, where you've got, you have people on the air backing up, but it's, they're going to get the same problems we have. They're either going to argue with you like that. But we can see how it goes. Not walking into the stone, especially with monitoring.
Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, we're reintroducing the use, and so if however you'd like to approach that, if you want to go back to how we've done it before, if you'd like to look at this modified, but we felt that this would capture better what the actual costs are, and there's staff time involved too. I mean, you get a call and I have an event, and that's where I would really like to have like a little nice checklist of how many tables, how many what is this facility, because these people come for their dream wedding and then we don't have everything that they want, and
Titles and all sorts of things that we want to promote. So lower the fee is better, but we got to make it punitive for those that have to have. Side of it, we still want to make sure we're at least hitting the number. Calculate that out at about $30. Yeah, shouldn't be a problem. I don't mind the 2-hour minimum and then $25 per hour after 2 hours. I think if there's somebody there, we have all that trouble.
I think with the checkout, that'll be better, don't you?
well, I think a checkout will kind of sink the teeth. So if there's something damaged,
we don't have to wait a whole year. It's not working out the way we want it, we'll bring it back. So right now we're at 125, right?
100.
To rent
for however long. There's no, it's within 24-hour period.
$50 hours, 2 hours a minute, 25 an hour.
ICC building valuation.
Now that we're going to see and some people will go with this project comes out automatically update in our policy. So we're just saying
That's good, then we're not losing money then.
And I do want to say thank you on the city inspector. It's been phenomenal so far.
We didn't address the reservations during rental hours, though. Are we okay with that one, just leaving that? During business hours, sorry, hours for rentals during office.
Someone's here, that covers it.
Basically for somebody that holds a meeting, and if we get HOAs that don't have that.
that's for hours.
Okay. What is that? Oh. Good call. I'll second the motion.
Motion by Yuri, second by Marriott. Any further discussion? Roll call vote. Arrington,
Yes.
Gibson, Marriott,
Yes.
Nelson's excuse, Yuri. Well, he knows when to be gone, doesn't he?
Seriously.
All right. Item 18, budget workshop. We need a workshop or just go into the public hearings and.
Oh, you're not gonna pick it out.
No.
It's past his bedtime.
Take a donut.
Hey, take a couple donuts.
Let's just do it under the public hearing. We can just do it under the public hearing part, can't we? All right, let's go into the item 19, public hearing on budget. First item is to amend, discussion possible action to amend the 2021-2022 fiscal year budget. Resolution 2022-K. I'd go entertain a motion to go into public hearing for that purpose.
So moved.
The motion?
Motion by Arrington, second by Marriott. All in favor say aye. They were in a public hearing. Laurie, or Amy, who's presenting the amendment?
The amended one. The changes I've made are highlighted in yellow. That's from the last one, the budget that we adopted. Overall, with the amendment, where we up revenue and more, it changed by 4,000. Actually, our carryover went down by 4,000.
Okay.
I don't know if you know the changes to that for this year.
For $4,000. You want to go up to?
Revenue went up.
Is there any key ones you think we really need to know? Because 4,000 is not that significant. That I don't know we want to spend a ton of time on.
Are you guys lowering, lowering the budget for this year?
We're doing 2021 right now.
I keep hearing things, and so I was nervous, so no, then they'll go back to the minutes, so it's a lot over budget. So I did change that one.
Okay. Great. That's about 3,000 of the 4,000 right there. Okay. All right. Any members of the public wish to discuss the amendment of the 2021-22 budget? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That was Yuri and Arrington. All righty. Any discussion on the council for amending the 2021-22 fiscal year budget? If not, I'd entertain a motion. All right, yeah, we're doing the amendment 2021-22 budget 2022-K. Yep. All right.
Second.
Motion by Gibson, second by Arrington. Any further discussion? I can't find that in my packet anywhere. Where's that?
The third one?
Third packet.
We're not.
Oh, I put that. I filed that away. Let me tell you what.
I found it.
That's
You have
okay.
one you
I'll
can
just
have.
roll call vote. Arrington.
Yes.
Marriott. Marriott.
Oh, yes.
Gibson. Nelson is excused. Yuri. Okay, motion carries. Next item is a public hearing to adopt the 2022-2023 fiscal year budget resolution 2022-L. Entertain a motion to go into a public hearing. Motion by Marriott, second by Gibson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're in a public hearing. Sorry.
Second.
Okay. Motion to close. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. What's the highlight since we approved that tentative? Again, page 13.
So there's no property tax, in here. Yep. Earlier was 900,000 with what they sort of certified auditor's tax rate, it's 922,000. So that's up 22,000, and the tax rate that's up to a 0.07. That's not. That's true.
Yeah. We don't need to do that this year. Yeah.
And we were inflationary.
That would require a truth and taxation hearing.
I would say.
Yes.
It does communicate.
Look like what, 22 or 25 or something?
5. I don't think we need to. I mean, it came in even higher. We had a balanced budget with a about a 25% reserve, and we even came in higher on our taxes than she had guessed. So,
Households.
And then
I don't know. I don't know what to do.
So it's $180,000 more, which would be
But I don't know.
I think it'd be a big big tax increase again. If you're talking 15, 18%. Yeah.
So it kind of is. It's the hard thing is with the way the numbers work, it's very hard to get.
But the individual house will go up about 15 to 18%. The individual household. The Pleasant City.
So, yeah.
Anyway, I just figured out there, I don't want to lose that. I think it's the wrong time.
I think it's the wrong year.
They are making more of the,
second.
Won't that be item C?
Well, that's for the mayor and council.
Oh,
That's where we did the market study, and we also put the three ranges and stuff that's next dollars.
so is there any change in that from the preliminary budget?
Same as what was proposed.
So,
We're talking, no,
oh, we're not talking
we're
us
not
yet.
talking our, we're talking.
We're on B, aren't we?
No,
Where are you at?
we'll call that up next. This is just the pay ranges for the employees. What we approved in the preliminary.
So what,
The mayor and council will come next. That's not part of your that's not part of your motion. We'll,
No, for the employees.
Page 35. So you put the average and then added $2. Is that right? Market study.
we did what's normal and then yeah.
And increase the range maximum by $2.
But we don't want hers now.
Tonight's not the night.
Let's do a study on that.
ooh, now we're talking.
Can you explain again what we did? We took the market analysis and then they're just the ranges though, right?
All the ranges went up $2.
You're approving a range. The person that falls.
We're just approving the range. We're not approving the increase.
It's all yeah. It's in.
Yeah.
Depends. Some not. Yeah. Some don't get it. There. Yes. Some might already. Most this year probably did. Last year there was 3 or 4 that didn't because they were already there. This year there will probably be some.
Yeah.
Some are 11 cents. Some are $1.11. So I mean, it's, yeah.
So does it? So does the increase? The market went up as well, and then there's a $2 increase on top of that. You think that's the case?
For inflationary. because the market right now, we're not sure if it's capturing inflation. We've had inflation go up 8% in a month and a half.
Problem is, everybody else is doing something similar to what we're proposing, and that's not in that won't be in the market till a year from now.
So this is the range, so we.
And actually, we're somewhat conservative. Some are doing 3% plus cost of living of, I've heard as high as 7%, plus $3. So I mean, North Ogden did 3. Huh? I don't know. I've never been involved in private, so. Oh, I don't know. I won't say that's true because McDonald's is advertising for $19 an hour now. So they used to be at $9 an hour, and in the last 2 years they've doubled. So I can't say that maybe all private's not doing it, but yeah.
And you're welcome to modify this. This is the council's determination. So.
What's hard, but it doesn't, I just don't know what part is, I don't know what everybody is doing. And so what are we doing?
Yeah,
Just
So that's right here
range.
on this sheet right here.
I think it'd be nice to see,
You know what I mean?
nice to see a comparison to previous.
So this is the range and where people fall in the range. Yeah.
Well, then you'd be approving each
along
person,
with
each
the city and their
person's,
merit.
and that's what we're trying to avoid is going person by person. That's a little political.
What I would like to see though is that what was it previous? What was the range previously? The new range, and maybe you have that. Is that
Down our
yeah, that's kind of what I mean. I don't know. Is it the right thing for us to do that right now? But my employer just did a $3 range, a $3 increase over production employees over a period of 3 months. Actually, no, 6 months, but and I mean, it's.
Well, I saw the county that's 45%. That's what you get.
Yeah, which is I tried to avoid that because we talked about that.
Oh, this is working. Sorry.
I hate percentages because your principals are going to get this much, and your
They are.
you know,
Right,
your
everybody gets the same increase.
same
Yeah.
percentage, but we don't buy milk or gas or any of that stuff based on a percentage. I pay the same for a gallon of milk as you pay for a gallon.
But they also.
As the
my
janitor pays for
administrator
the
has a lot more college education than I do, and, you know.
Well, that should not affect cost of living.
No, it doesn't, but.
That
the reality
affects,
is-
that's what the market study
Oh,
is. That's what the market study, that's why
okay.
previously you guys adopted this concept of a market study because of that, yeah. I don't know, before me and after I was on the council, so
I think that was.
could be.
Oh, I have the website.
It
too.
wasn't 10 years ago.
It was under Melinda's.
But so what they did is like every 3, 4, 5 years they did a month. They really adjusted everybody. Now we do it every year, so we get it.
Okay, so let me find.
That's really counterintuitive to
Oh, yeah. There we go. Okay.
yeah, that's why there's this whole system out there.
That's what all municipalities do. They do market studies and they dig on that.
I know. Second.
Motion by Gibson, second by Arrington. Further discussion. All in favor say aye. Roll call. Okay, Arrington,
Yes.
Gibson, Marriott. Roll call vote.
Oh, yes.
Nelson's excused. Yuri? Yeah. Okay. Motion carries. Item number C, 19C, set discussion possible action to amend the mayor and city council salaries for the fiscal year 2022-23, ordinance 2022-19. Entertain a motion to go into a public hearing.
So moved.
Do I have a second? Go into public hearing. Is that a yes? No? Yes, sir. Motion by Arrington, second by Marriott. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Is there any members of the public that wish to address this?
To make a motion, we close the public hearing.
Motion by Arrington, second by Yuri to close the public hearing. All in favor, say aye. Hey, what you got here? And where do we find it?
Where do we go?
Well, we don't have, I don't even think
This
we
is the
have.
market study right here.
Where is it?
Oh, this is what they're,
Oh, here it is.
this is what they're getting. Salary.
It's not on the budget one?
No, this is a separate sheet that,
I already lost that one.
Packet 3 is killing us.
Very last page.
and just to hit on with this, there was some interest and a desire to look at the comparable rates because our council and mayor do put in a significant amount of time. And I know that you guys don't do this for the money. Clearly, this evening is an example of that. But really to compensate a little bit for the effort and time that goes into these roles.
Well, no longer is it just a one meeting thing like it used to be in the old days. You come to a meeting or two and, you know, we've asked you to be on committees and you guys have really stepped up to the plate there. And as you can see, I mean, even Plain City is paying $75 more than you guys, and Far West, 125, 175 more than we are. And so UNA's, you know, we're kind of on the bottom of the hole if you don't count the town of Huntsville.
My rate's a lot higher than this, so.
And I don't even have really a recommendation. It's just whatever you guys feel comfortable with. But we've kicked this can down the road a lot of years, and that's why we are so far behind everybody else. And you know, it does. I know you didn't. Nobody here signed up for the money, but your kids can send on council nights. Send your spouse with your kids to go to get a pizza or something.
Give me John.
There you go.
No.
Take my play money.
Whatever.
We're gonna have 2 within 5 minutes.
And I don't know. I'm gonna look and say it's got to be around. Yeah, they're crazy. That's you know, I would say somewhere between 275 and 300.
And if you'd like us to calculate the average, if you wanted to approve that, we can, or we can
Well,
quickly calculate that.
You would, but
Right now.
They only meet once a month too in Harrisville. Mm-hmm.
well, the average is going to be skewed because of, you know, South Ogden, Riverdale, well, and Huntsville town. If you take Pleasantview, North Ogden, what did you say, Larry? Did you include North Ogden? 330.
Everybody that doesn't have the additional meeting ones I did, and it's $395.
Okay.
There's, yep. Sorry, I didn't look at the mayor.
What about the mayor? The mayor cannot exceed the URS, whatever that is. If it's still 1,096, I cannot exceed that because I'm retired. Yeah, and I get 923 now. Is that what it is, Laurie? Oh,
Well, 1,095. There you go.
I just have to stay under whatever their cap is because I'm retired from that system.
Can we say that? Can we say at least under?
We could do that.
That's on their website.
So I would propose that we set this council at 325. If the average Laurie calculator was 330, oh, Dave wants some money.
That's why, that's the average, but I left,
Well, that's
I
the
left
average
North
you got.
Ogden out of that, that would increase it, but.
Well, then I'll let one of you guys make a suggestion on
So the
Since
I
I
looked
know
on the
it's hard.
URS and the minimum or the maximum amount is 1,148
For him.
Except for the mayor.
Okay, I got one.
it. All right. Okay. Is that a motion? Okay, 1,100 and
Can you read?
350.
State that.
1,100 and 350. It has not increased for a long time. That's the problem. That's why it just, I raised this when I was on the council because it was so low. And it's like, guys, you just keep kicking it down the road. It's going to be a disaster someday. Yes. It's going to be a disaster someday. This is defensible. If, you know, if you wanted to go up to, 500 or that I don't think that's defensible. An average is defensible. And even it's under the average.
There are like this one to amend the mayor and chief council ordinance 2030-14 to the mayor's salary of 1,100 a month and the chief council
300 and what? Oh, thank you. Sorry.
That'd be resolution 2022-19. Okay, with those amounts. Do I have a second? I've been waiting for a second.
I'll second.
Okay. Motion by Uri, second by Arrington. That's a roll call vote also. Arrington,
Yes.
Marriott, Gibson, Uri, Nelson's excused. Okay. Motion carries. Do we need a closed meeting?
I don't have any items this evening.
Bless
Do,
you.
do we need other business? Chief, you have anything really burning? Amy, burning? Yeah, but
No other. Nothing this evening. I'm sure the employees will be incredibly appreciative of the support.
Oh, today.
I've noticed flashing lights all over the city. That's great.
You know, you drive past him, he's staring at
All right,
Board needs somebody to talk to.
Mayor, if I could have 30 seconds, I'm so sorry.
You betcha.
We are having issues again with park vandalism in the restrooms. So I'm going to be working on a social media post to discourage, and then also working with some of the church youth groups to try to get some service projects lined up to help clean our bathrooms and clean up the good
And also, we're going to be installing some
security
cameras.
cameras
Um,
outside.
We was contacted by North Ogden. They showed me their restrooms. They put up some just cheap trail cameras, $35 a piece, and they've actually made some arrests on that already with just a cheap trail camera. That's so. We do. Yeah, we got hit Monday, and it was actually during the day.
So it's during the day.
Are they usable for
They're
I am not sure if they, because they ripped off all the paper towel soap.
North Ogden got hit really bad the same day. Last night, I guess.
It's awful. It's awful.
But
So
they,
Upper
offer $1,000 reward. That's maybe not a bad idea.
Yeah, I don't know what the rules are with finances with that, but we could look into it.
Let them clean the bathroom for a year.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. I like it.
Yeah.
We'll discuss that and bring that back. We'll discuss it as
We
staff
can discuss that and
with
bring
the
that
chief
back. That's no problem.
and legal.
$45.
He said he got 2 for $70. So he did the restroom down by Green Acres for $70. And actually they spent more for cameras that connect Wi-Fi at the city park. No Wi-Fi that was down last night, so we didn't get any pictures. He says, so I'm going to go buy some more trail cams.
And aren't the trail cams motion sensors, so you don't have to like go through?
And they have a built-in card where they can.
Cool.
Yeah, but
And I actually, when they did that, they posted it on the Facebook page, and if you go to these regular college, you guys do that.
alrighty. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, I'll call to order the Pleasant View City Redevelopment Agency this Tuesday, June 14th, 2022. It is now 9:52. Oh my heck. 9:50. It's 9:50. That clock's wrong. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Chief. Item 1 is consent items, minutes of May 10th, 2022. Any corrections, or if not, I'd entertain a motion.
Make a motion, we approve the consent items.
Motion by Arrington, second by Uri. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Item 2 is tax increment financing. Discussion possible action to approve tax increment financing payments to JD Machine and Western State Rebar Fabrication. I do have a question on this. When does it end? When? So there's still money in there to do it. Yeah, that's great. Any question about those ones? That's just an extension. If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve that.
Approve the tax increment.
And if, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Oh, are you sure? I thought I heard Ann second.
Oh, but I can't.
Oh.
I think Ann seconded it.
I meant to second it. Really, I did.
Maybe she was mumbling to herself. I thought it was
I may have mumbled in mic, sorry.
all right. Do we need a budget workshop, or can we move right to the public hearings? Okay. All right. I entertain a motion to go into a public hearing to amend the 2021-2022 fiscal year budget resolution 2022-A RDA. So moved. Motion by Marriott, second by Uri. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any members of the public wish to address this? If not, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So, second.
Motion by Uri, second by Arrington. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay. Big whopping agenda. What are we adding? Robin Road. Yeah.
Looks so nice.
Oh, looking for exhibit A.
As of today, I think they oiled it, right?
Oh, the budget.
Oh, it's in the budget packet.
It's in the budget
No wonder I
packet.
can't find it.
I was also lost. She's like, page 33. I'm like, it only goes to 8.
Wonder I couldn't find
But I found that URS thing so fast. Sorry.
You know what, there's no changes. Which one is it?
You're reducing the tax incentives to 72,250. Yeah, pretty simple. So, all right, I'd entertain a motion to adopt resolution 2022-A RDA. Motion by Gibson, second by Uri. Roll call. Arrington,
Yes.
Gibson, Marriott. Excuse Uri. Motion carries. Then entertain a motion to go into a public hearing to adopt the 2022-23 fiscal year budget resolution 2022-B RDA.
So moved.
Motion by Marriott, second by Gibson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any members of the public who wish to address us?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion by Marriott, second by Gibson to close. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Second.
Motion by Gibson, second by Arrington. Any further discussion? Roll call vote. Arrington.
Yes.
Gibson. Marriott.
Yes.
Please excuse Uri.
Make a
Motion
motion that we adjourn the RDA meeting.
Favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thanks, everybody.
Woo, baby! This is so past my bedtime.
Laurie, Amy, you guys are miracle workers.
Seriously though.
So much information in this. I don't know how you kept it all straight.
We thought we were being so effective, but I don't think we'll ever do this again. I'm so sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Sun Pro cost sharing agreement. Hey, that's okay. I live for these meetings.
Yes, you figured out a way.
I like the shirts a lot. They're cute.